Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. What is Gucci Manucci's? Welcome to the Half Court Podcast. My name is Darwin. We got AV behind the camera. And today we got a very special guest. We got Yadira from Vintage Latina. Hey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm so excited. And man, I'm at ease now. I came in a little tense, a lot of stuff going on, but I am so grateful to be here. I'm a big fan of this whole show, the podcast, the people you guys had. I'm learning a little bit.
Thank you.
Out of all the people you guys have, I totally dig this movement. I'm 100% going to support you guys behind this movement. It's super dope. I love it.
We've seen it. And, it was that time to have you in the podcast and, especially what you got going on with the Vintage Latina. But can you kind of explain to the people what you got going on with this whole movement?
Sure. So Vintage Latina popped in my little crazy brain about 3 years ago. I was working a 9 to 5 for a trucking company. And I started there. One of my friends got me in. Shout out to Isela, because that's my girl. She got me in there. And I went with the intention that I was going to learn something to take with me, because I knew that I wasn't going to be there for long. I've had, a lot of jobs in my life, and I've always programmed my brain to adapt what my job was, and then take it with me. And that's what happened. I was at a 9 to 5 working at a trucking company, and they had several positions, so I started at the bottom of the bottom.
So you started doing what for them?
I was doing sales.
Sales?
Yeah. So basically, a trucking company wanted someone to, so they would do all these deliveries, let's say. And so the company would basically advance them their pay. So they would turn in all their paperwork, and then this company would pay them in advance. That way, because being a trucker's expensive, the maintenance on the trucks and all that stuff. So you have to have money, on the side, always, emergency money. So that's what the company basically did, is that would pay them in advance, like bookkeeping kind of for the truckers. And so from there, within 30 days, I would say like 2-3 months, I moved to the next position. And of course, when you work with people, you kind of like build relationships with them. And then 2-3 months again, I moved to another position and another one. And my friend's like, "Girl, you're not gonna stop?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm not planning to be here for a long time." And she's like, "Man, you're crazy." But I would go into the interview confident mentally, and I would claim like I'm getting this job, because in life.
And this is within the company. Within
that same company, yeah. So long story short, I was with that company, and I kept moving positions, and I kept absorbing every department, because we were starting a trucking company. We were already in the mix. My husband started a trucking company, and I wanted to learn it all, so I wouldn't have to spend so much money paying someone to do what I could learn. Like, our brain it adapts to anything that we put our mind to it. So I'm like, I know I can do this. And so I would pick up in every department.
You would learn something.
Is that a mindset that you've always had?
I had it. I've always, I can say yes or no. I did have it, and then I would make myself like, okay, no, you're not confident. Back in the day.
So a little bit of self-doubt would kind of come in.
Yes, and that was the biggest thing that I hated about myself. And, thank God to my daddy. My dad, he got deported 20 years ago. He is the most positive dude ever, and he would always tell me, you can do this. Like, don't give up. Like, your daddy didn't raise, no weak girl. Like, tú puedes, eres chingona. My dad would always tell me. So I'm like, it's almost like I had to hear that consistently so I can, push myself. Really? Back then. Now it's just a habit. Now it's just a habit for me to say, you can do this.
Instead of him telling you, not you.
Yes.
But then again, like, you had to hear it consistently. So I think that's another good.
I think that's what my dad always tells me. Like, you think that I just tell you things over and over and over, but like, there's gonna be a day where I'm not here.
You're not gonna
hear it no more. So
yes,
I want to engrave that shit in your head.
Yes, and tell me not, when you guys are out and about, that you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. Damn well, you hear your mom or your dad's voice in the back of your head. Your conscience back there's telling you like, damn, I heard my mom's voice or my dad's voice, and And I think that was something that I had to work on myself for a long time, because it's hard to do. A lot of people are weak-minded, and you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So to jump back into the story, so I, worked there, and then there was a last position, and this was the most important position because it was where you would get, all your permits and, all that stuff, and the expensive side. I was like, man, I want to learn this side. At the company, I want to learn how to file for all these permits and do all that. So when it comes for our trucking company to grow, I don't want to pay someone because it gets expensive.
Yeah.
So cool. I was there maybe 30 days, and I worked for, with probably like 4 or 5 girls. Of course, we all know girls are catty. So anyway, sitting there, whatever, me chilling, listening to my music and doing my work. And I would always go in with a good spirit because I would always set my mood. If you were in a bad mood, that's your business. But don't bring that over here to me. I had my own little cubicle.
I love that.
Energy's key,
Yes. And to me, I would come in, my little cafecito, and I would sit there, put my music on. And we were allowed to have music. So, I'd get my job done. And I was being trained to learn a certain program that I wasn't adapting it as quickly as I normally do. So long story short, the girl that I was working with, whatever, was pretty upset. Maybe she felt like I didn't adapt quick, and I was cool because she was a younger girl than me. And so I was offered something that I wasn't going to accept from someone else, like a manager, that I didn't want to accept because I was not going to be there. I didn't want to say yes to a position that I knew I wasn't going to be there.
You wasn't going to give it your all.
Right. So I think that word got around, and, intimidation's an ugly disease. Not intimidation, but hate. And so I feel like she was low-key being a hater or, intimidated. But little did she know, if she would have communicated, with me, I would have told her, like, girl, don't trip. Like, I don't want it. I don't want none of that. I'm not going to be here for long. So that day, I guess she ended up, telling the manager something that I was on my phone. And I was like, I was on my phone. I was listening to music. I got to set my mood before I work. Like, everybody knew that. You come on my cubicle, I had music going. So I was looking for my music, hit my playlist. Well, instead of her sending the message to the manager, she accidentally sent it to me. And in that moment, my hood came out, my hood side.
You're savage.
And so, but at the same time, I'm just like, this is your key, girl. Like, this is it. Like, you call it quits right here. Like, you literally, the day that I was going to be done with this, just learning that permitting part, that happened. And I was like, this is my key.
It was a sign.
It was a sign. So the girl was like super scared. Like, she thought like I was gonna put hands on her and stuff like that because she knew me.
She thought you were gonna get the hood on her.
Yes. And so I didn't. I literally just turned around and scoped her out, and I was just like, wow, like, you could have communicated. Like, we're grown. Like, this is what are we in high school?
You dirty little.
Yeah. And so I'm like, you know what, Yadira, go to lunch, feed your soul, feed your spirit, talk to yourself out in the car, come back and figure out what it is. So I left. She left, and I just gave her space so she can rethink what she did, because she could have literally came to me, and said, hey, look, if you're not getting it, man, let me know, or let's talk about, you know what I'm saying? So I went to lunch, whatever, meditated, did my prayers. When I came back, I spoke, sitting there speaking to myself in the car, and I said, you know what? If she's there, we're going to get this clear, and, bam, we're done. But if you go back in and she's not there, that's your cue. It's time for you to go. Me talking to myself in the mirror, telling myself. So I walk in, and then I look at my manager. I'm like, hey, where did old girl go? And she's like, oh, mija, she's gone for the day. And then I was like, why? And she's like, she got sick. And then I'm like, damn, I would have got sick too if I would have sent the message to the wrong person. You know what I'm saying? So then I just smiled, and I looked at her, and then I did everything I had to do, finish my work for that day, and straightened everything out. And of course, took my personal belongings. And so my manager looks at it, and she's like, like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm done. She's like, no, don't do this. You can't. I love having you here. You're so positive, like we need you in this
Yeah.
department, blah, blah, blah. I was like, you guys have taught me some awesome things. I like
Grateful.
grateful for you guys. I've learned something from everyone. I said, but I'm done. So I basically did my job, dropped the mic, like they say, and I walked
Yeah.
out. I was done. And that, I've never done that. I've never just like quit like cold turkey like that. I've always been professional and given my time, but that was it for me. So I went home, and of course I was my emotions kicked in, and I'm like, damn it, what did you do? Like, this was a good company.
Like you just quit your job.
Yeah, like you had insurance, you had this and you had that, and I sat there and I had to call my dad, and I called my dad. I was like, Dad, he said, esto, look, what do you think? And he's like, Mija, were you happy? And then I was like, no, I wasn't happy. And he's like, so, ¿para qué lloras?
Yeah, that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm like, and I was just like, okay, wiping my tears off. And I was like, man, that phone call set it off. And so I'm sitting there trying to figure out, dang, how am I going to tell Daniel? Because, not fear that he was going to get upset, but just I'm a very independent person that does for her.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't know how I was going to break it down to my other half that I just quit my job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
I think that's always from both sides is always a weird like.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I'm not gonna say it was fear of, oh my God, he's gonna get pissed. Nah, it wasn't. It was just like, damn, like what am I gonna do?
It was change.
Right. It was a big change.
Like, you had to put shit together real quick.
Yeah, because I made really good money there, and so anyway.
Did you have a plan when you quit your job? It was just like, I'm done with this place. I don't got a plan, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Right, and I've always been sales savvy. I can sell anything, and it's just been because of all the years that I've worked. I've always, picked up from things or people that I've worked with, and
I think sales is a very emotion driven thing. Like, if the vibe is not right, I'm not buying from you. That's just. You have to adjust to people's vibe and kind of.
You do.
So
and it's
I can
to
see
your
how
approach.
you're good at it.
It's your approach. If you're selling something, or if you're, it doesn't matter what it is. It's your approach, and I've proven, certain people, like, look, if you do it like this, don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. But I'm just saying this what worked for me. It might not work for you, but it did for me. And so I got home, whatever, and then Daniel comes home, and I'm the kind of person that cannot hide my energy. If I'm mad, I'm mad. If I'm sad, you can see it. Like, I cannot hide my emotions. My facial expression will let you know what's going on. And so he got home, and as soon as he walked in, and I was, at the table and, serving dinner, and he looked, and he's like, what's wrong? I was like, nothing. And then he's like, I know you. What's wrong? And then in my eye, I started crying, and then I was like, man, I don't know how to tell you this. I was like, but I quit. And he's like, shit. About fucking time. So I was like, I didn't think that I was gonna get that response, And then he's like,
because you had your attitude. Maybe you didn't realize it, but the job was maybe making you
stress.
Yeah, to where he was like, man. Because sometimes I see that. I know I've been in that position where I'm so overwhelmed with work that I'm an asshole, and I'm just now that I'm more relaxed, I see it in people. Like my dad, he's busy and he's on it all the time. So sometimes I'm like, dude, like,
chill out,
man.
Yeah,
like, you're just being an asshole.
Yeah, but the thing is that we don't realize that we pick up energies from work. At work, you have a manager, and that manager can be an asshole. Yeah, and he's being an asshole to everyone there. It's like, so by the time you get home, you're the asshole. Yeah, and you're frustrated, and you take out that anger on everyone at home, and that was.
I tend to leave it. I'm probably like the opposite. Like, I tend to leave it out because that's what I was saying in the previous podcast, that when I get out of the two doors and I see the world and stuff, and I'm like, all right, this is my place. This is where I want to be, like, free.
Most people
I don't take that energy. I leave that energy in that place. If I had a bad day,
you've done self-development and stuff like that. Like a lot of people have.
I'm just glad to be out of there. If it was a bad day, a bad shift, I'm glad to be out of there. Let's look forward to what's next, what's out there type.
And like you say, it's self-development. That's something that I encourage my kids and people to do. I've done a personal development course that I'll talk to you guys about that here in a little bit. But it was so important for me to invest in that in myself, because I can tell you who I am all day long, but if I go home and I'm not practicing what I'm preaching, I just wasted your time with lies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to sit there and take courses for me because there was a lot of things that I knew that I needed to work on. And I would always tell, my husband, like, hey, what do you think? Like, if we could change me, I would always tell, he gets so mad because I'm always asking, if you could change me in, in this world, like, what would you want to see out of me? Like.
And that's a tricky question to
it
ask.
Is,
I've asked
because he's
that too.
like, if I say this, she's going to get mad. If I say that, I'm like,
and
no.
you can't take it back.
No. And I'm like, no, bluntly, like, tell me. Like, I've learned to accept constructive criticism very well now. Before, oh, no.
You would get heated.
Oh, yeah.
Take
I would
it too
get
personal.
I'm like, damn.
Like, who the
that's
fuck are you to
fucked
tell
up.
me about myself?
Yes. That was the attitude I had back in the day. And now it's kind of like, no, tell me, what am I doing wrong? Like, if you see I can do something better when I'm doing my pop-ups, tell me. Like, I want to know. Like, I embrace that, like, with all open arms. And but because of my personal development that I've taken in the past, and I've taken several, and I think that's what's molded me to be what I am now.
I forgot who said it, but they were like, sometimes your haters are actually more beneficial than the people on your side because they tell you the shit that they don't like. So maybe that'll help you become better, you know? And I was like, oh, shit, that's some big facts right there.
Yes, most definitely. So I quit, whatever, and then I just, I did a lot of meditating, I did a lot of praying, and I just sat there, and I'm just like, Yadira, I know you could do this. Like, you're a guerrera, your dad and your mom taught you to be your dad taught you how to be a hustler, and I've always, I was raised around adults a lot. Like, my dad always had my tios and my tias, and they all had their own business. So I was like, I know I can do this, and so every time I would go out, people would be like, oh, man, your hat's so... I've had this hat for probably 6 years. And they would be like, man, I love your hat. Or I have a bag, and, man, I love your bag. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to start selling stuff I love. I'm going to start... And I couldn't come up with the name. And for a little bit, I struggled for a little bit. And then I thought, man, I have an old soul. I was raised by my grandfather, my mom's dad. Both of my grandparents, I was around them a lot. I was blessed to have those relationships with my grandparents, and I had an old soul. I still, I have an old soul, and I was like, you know what? Vintage. That's the first word that came to mind. Vintage. Like, you'll always see me at like the vintage markets that they have here in the city. I love restoring. Like, I haven't done it in a minute, but I always like to restore things. I would get things that were old and ugly, and then I would fix them and then sand them or do something to create something else. And I had the eye for it, so I was like, man, that's me. Like, that's, I love things like that. And I love the whole, when I was raised by my grandma and my grandpa, they would always watch the black and white movies, El Cine Blanco, which would be like Pedro Infante, Maria Felix, Elsa, a bunch of people that I grew up watching, and I used to think, like, damn, when I get older, I want to look like her. Like, she's gorgeous, the whole, and that all that came to my spirit in that moment. I had to like pull myself away from the world. And I sat in my room, and I just read, and I would write, and I would read, and I would write, and then all of a sudden I'm like, dude, I'm a Latina. And then bam, the word popped in my head, vintage Latina. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to meditate this on 3 days. And by the third day, if it feels right, then we're going to go for it. What I was going to sell, what I was going to do, I don't know. I just knew that was going to be my business name.
And that's what I always tell people, too. When they have a business idea and they want to come up with a name, I'm like, just let it come to you. Like, it'll eventually come. Like, don't force it, because your business has to have a meaning, like the name and all that it comes with it, So I think that's very important.
Sometimes people can get away with just like...
They could, but I mean, at least when they ask us...
It has more personality when it's like something...
Right, exactly.
Something
so when
organic.
When they ask you what's in Power Visuals, like, why did you come up with that name?
I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Like, I want to empower people with my visuals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
So
So it's like, it's a meaning. It has a meaning to it.
Yeah, most definitely. And that was my deal. I'm like, what if they ask, what's a vintage Latina? So to me, vintage Latina is all the women out there. I think we all have that vintage soul. because we were women, we were raised to have self-respect, first and foremost, to always have not only respect, but, being loyal to yourself. A lot of things that our grandparents and our mothers would, always pierce in their daughters. And I was like, that's a vintage Latina is a piece of an old soul that you have inside. It doesn't matter what part of Latin America you are from. Mm-hmm. Latina is a Latina, all Latin America. And so I'm like, that's what it is. It's an empowering Latina with the vintage, soul or vintage touch to something. You know what I'm saying? To me, that was very important because nowadays, we were talking about this just the other day, me and some friends, that some girls don't even know who Selena is, and that breaks my heart. Yeah. That, girls that are like 16, 17, do you guys know who Selena is? And man, let me take your card. Let me take your Latina card, because if you don't know who, Selena is, like, but that's how far they're into the cyber world that they don't pay attention to the real soul of being a Latina.
That's what I was telling my mom, because she was like, if you could have a theme for a barbershop, like, what would it be? And I'm like, I think it'd be cool to have, like, kind of like a museum, so while people wait, they can see, like, pictures of maybe people that they wouldn't ever learn from in school, like Emiliano Zapata, just different
Francisco
people people that did crazy stuff that como que se están muriendo la legacy porque ya no, pues, people aren't talking about them.
The tradition, that's important, because to me, I embrace my traditions like nobody else. Dia de los Muertos, I go all out Dia de los Muertos. Las Navidades, we were talking about that. I don't know if you guys...
Can you explain a little bit on the Dia de los Muertos? Because I like on the Blood and Blood movie, that always caught my attention in the beginning, whenever it's like their faces all painted and it's like a big parade and they're like dancing.
What's the purpose of it?
Dia de los Muertos, they start preparing. It's like a 3-day event, and they start preparing on October 31st. They start bringing out all, the stuff to create your altar. So it's to celebrate.
It's a spiritual thing.
It's a very spiritual thing. And so in Mexico, here they don't do it a lot, but in Mexico, you would go to the panteon, to the cemetery, and you would take flowers, you would decorate, and you would be there from the 31st of October into the 1st, and the 1st is Dia de los Angelitos, which is to celebrate, that all the babies, the angels, the kids that passed away that are, that are now angelitos. And then the 2nd is the actual Dia de los Muertos, so they would stay at the cemetery for those days. And the altar is created by 4 tiers, so you have all 4 elements. So on the top, it would be the person that you're honoring because they're gone. So you would put them on the top altar. And then the 2nd altar would represent the water, and elements. So food would go on the 2nd tier. And so you would cook all their favorite foods and then their favorite drinks. And you would put those, on the 2nd tier. The 3rd tier would be things that they liked, that they like to do, or things that they were interested in. So like me, I had my abuelos, my sister, on the top altar, and then her favorite thing was, that girl loved chocolate, and so I always had her chocolate and her tequila. She liked Don Julio, so I would give her, her little shot of tequila. And then, water in the bottom element would be the fire, and the flowers, the flower element. So, and it's basically to honor those that are not with you no more, because they're gone. And that's one thing that I get into all the time with my family, because I'm like, when I pass, guys, do not bury me. And the kids are like, why, Mom? Like, that's what, you're serious. I'm like, no, you guys are going to bury me. You're going to forget. You guys are going to be too busy living life that you're going to forget
to go visit.
And I was like, and I'm so interact with my kids that I want to see you every day. I said, so cremate me. Plant me into a tree outside of your house, or put me in the flower bed. Dig me in there. And they're like, Mom, you're crazy. You're like, what if we move? Well,
that's
dig
why
that damn tree out.
My mom said it's the same thing.
Yeah. I want to see my kids grow.
Yeah.
I want to be able to, like, if they're going through a tough time and they're just down.
So I guess that would be the beauty of owning your own home and all that. Now that
Yeah.
Because I always thought, like, buying your own house is that's kind of scary. Like, you're going in debt for that long. But if that makes sense, kind of like.
Yeah. I would do I always would tell my brothers and stuff like, I would cremate and then throw my ashes in the
So what are your
in the
thoughts
sea.
on like afterlife and stuff?
I mean, to me, spirits don't, Dia de los Muertos, when you have to put water. And the reason why you put water is because they're coming from the long journey of the other life. And so the way I tell people is like, watch the Book of Life. Have you guys seen the Book of Life?
No.
It's a cartoon, but it's like, it tells you exactly, they show the bridge where they cross over, and basically they're walking that spiritual path back to your home. And a lot of people don't believe, and I respect everybody's beliefs, but I do. I believe like the spirit of them lives within you. It's like when I lost my sister 7 years ago, I think it's been 8 years now. I lost her and my grandfather back to back, my mom's dad, and I was super close with both of them. And I fell in a really bad depression when she passed away because we have the same dad, different mom, but I was the only girl. I have, 3 other brothers. But when I found out I had a sister, when I was young, I was just like, damn, like, hey, we can click. I was excited. I was like, oh, another girl. So when I met her, we clicked, and I met her when I was like 6 years old, and we were best friends, man. And so when I lost her, I fell in a really bad depression. And
At what age was that?
I was probably 27, 28.
God,
so it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, y'all had a lot to,
Yeah. And she was my summer best friend. Like, summertime, we would get into trouble. Like, when we were younger.
Hot girl summer?
Yes. Well, we weren't trashy or anything like that, but we had fun. Like, I would love to dance. She would love to dance. So we would go to the bailes, and we probably weren't even of age to get in there. So, but we'd be all up in there dancing, and I created the most beautiful memories with her. And
man, that sucks. That's really
it's like
crazy.
a part of you was just taken away like that. Yeah, that's.
And she's the one, sometimes I joke about certain things now because I'm like, damn, she knew all my secrets. Like, you could say she took him to the grave. I tell my dad, and my dad's like, ay, cabronas, because we would get into. My dad doesn't like tattoos, and go figure. I'm all tattooed up. But I explained to my dad that he can't get mad. Like, that's what I like, Dad. Like, every single tattoo on me is a part of my life. And so we tricked him when we were young. I didn't have tattoos then. And I think I was like 15, 16. And we went and bought these huge tattoos at the store, the ones that you just put on with water. And my sister put like a big tiger like on her leg, on her thigh or leg. And she's like, we were just trying to piss my dad off. And so she put it on, and my dad had came home from work, and when he walked in, we were just sitting there, and then that's the first thing that caught his eye, the tattoo. And he literally slammed the door and walked off, and we both busted out laughing like, this is hilarious. And so we go in there like, Abba, it's not real. No, váyase a la chingada. No me estén jugando. Like, don't be playing with don't be playing with me like that. And get out. I don't even want to see y'all.
Fucking emotions
he
like that.
He didn't even believe us until we went in there with agarra and like scrubbed it off. And then he's like, "Ay, you guys are gonna be the death of me." And we would always get into stuff to just make him mad. But so anyway, now that it's Dia de los Muertos, I've always celebrated hardcore now with her gone. And I remember one day I was sitting down. This was probably 4 years. This was a year and a half after she passed. I remember I was sitting on the floor in my hallway, and I was doing laundry. And the beautiful thing that I'm going to give credit to my husband is that he was so patient with me. Like, I would crack open a bottle of whiskey, and just drink straight out the bottle.
He would just let you do your thing.
Yes, and he wouldn't even say anything. He's like, you're going to get, like, he was so supportive through the whole thing. And he had never lost someone that close. Like, he never lost anyone close like that to him. So he didn't know how.
That's one of those where you can't tell somebody anything.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like, that's what he did. And so I remember my little girl, Nani's, which is 12 now, she came up to me and she's like, "Mommy, I don't want you drinking anymore." And me thinking I was hiding all that, because I was in so much pain. But when she told me that, I broke down. And I remember just sitting in the hallway in my house, and I was sitting there doing laundry, tipsy as hell, but doing laundry, trying to do the mom thing, still hurting in pain. And I remember I just sat there and I was just like, God, let me take this pain away.
Why
like,
do we do that? Why
And
do
then
we
'cause
drink?
like,
why do we, when we get sad and stuff, we're like, fuck it, I'm gonna drink.
Yeah, and like
Why?
when cases like when somebody passes away, like you got to always keep in mind that they don't want you to be that way. They
Right.
would not. That's one thing I had to snap out of too, because my mom passed away, and it's something that would haunt me, and I would always think of constantly. And I'm like, did she really want to see me this way?
and
like,
I
had
know
to
that
snap out of
now.
it.
Yeah, I know that now. I can control my emotions way better now, but then it was just so painful.
You got to go through it, because I would do the same thing.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, really, because it's crazy. I think that a lot of people, we do that. Like when we get sad and stuff, we're like, man, fuck it, I'm gonna drink.
because that's the flesh. The flesh in us is that we want to numb that pain, like right then and there. And that was me. It's like I wanted to numb that pain. And I remember I used to pray to God, and I would be drunk, and I'd be sitting there like, God, like, take this away. Like, I don't deserve this. I'm a good human. Like, I give back. I do all these things. And I was mad at God for a minute, you know, because I was just like, that's not fair. Like, you took her from me. And, I was just angry in that moment. I was angry. And sitting there in the hall, after I sat there and just arguing with myself, arguing with God, I'll never forget, my phone started ringing. And I had my phone, playing music, and I had it face down. And so I turned it over, and then I looked at it, and then I looked at it again, and it had my sister's name. The person that was calling me, she had already been deceased, going on 2 years.
Oh, you never changed the number?
No, I kept her in my contacts. And my phone started ringing, and it said Mónica Isabel Porras. And I looked at it, and I was just like, girl, you're drunk. Like, you're hallucinating, and like, you're tripping. And I let it ring. And then in that moment, Daniel was coming in. I don't know where he was walking through the hall, and he kind of like stepped over me. And he's like, your phone's ringing. And he turns around, looks at it, and he's like, and then we both made eye contact. Like, we both saw the name, and we were like, what the? And he's like, answer it. Like, like, that was his first thought, like, answer it. And I was just like, no. I was like, does that say what I think it says? And he's like, it says your sister's name.
What?
Answer it. So I'm sitting there like, so I, pick it up, and I get the chills every time because the experience is so unexplainable. So I pick it up, and I'm like, hello? And then there's just dead air. So I'm like, man, it pissed me off. It was just dead air. And it's just because you hold on to this little piece of hope that something's going to change in the good way, that to fulfill that emptiness or sadness that you have inside. And so I saw it in dead air. So I put it back down, and I started crying even more, and I just kept on folding, and it rings again. So I'm like looking at it. So I, get the phone again, and I pick it up, and I'm just like, hello? And then it starts ringing. And then I'm like, what the heck? Like, it rang to me, and I answer it, and then it starts ringing. So then a guy answers, and then I'm like, hello? And he's like, hello. I was like, my phone was ringing, and, I didn't even know what to say, like, in that moment. I'm just like, who is this? And then he's like, I'm in California. No, I said, like, who is this? And he's like, well, who are you looking for? I was like, I don't know if I'm going to sound weird. I'm so sorry. My phone rang, and I picked it up. And as I picked it up, it rang, and you answered, but I didn't call you. My phone rang. And he's like, well, I'm sitting right here in my bed next to my wife. And his wife is probably thinking, like, who the fuck's, thinking something, But he's like, I'm sitting right here on my bed next to my wife, and my phone is on my nightstand. He's like, I'm nowhere near my phone. And I'm like, so I just started, getting a knot in my throat. And then I was just like, I apologize, sir. I said, it was late at night. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm truly sorry. I said, look, this number belonged to my sister, and she's been passed away for 2 years, and my phone started ringing. I said, I'm going through a pretty rough patch right now, and I miss her. I'm like, and my phone started ringing, and I was like, I apologize. Like, I didn't even know what to say. I feel so stupid. So I hung up, and so I found out the guy was in California, and my sister is native of San Francisco. She was born in San Francisco. But she lived always in El Paso. So I hung up, and my husband's like, you know what, just leave everything there, just go to bed, just go lay down, just, like, he knew, like, that just messed with my emotions and everything. He's like, just go to bed. So he was doing the rest of the laundry, putting everything up, and fui me acosté. And like this, instantly, I fell asleep. And that never happens to me. I'm a big thinker when I go to bed. And I'm sitting there in bed, and right before I go to bed, I'm just like, God, take this pain away. Like, she was my best friend. Like, take it away. I'm like, I'm tired of drinking. I'm tired of wasting my time on nonsense. Like, take this pain away. And I was like, show me you're real, God. Like, show me you're real and take this, just rip this pain out. And I remember going to bed, and instantly I just felt so calm. And in my dream, I say it was the real world. I'm laying down, and all of a sudden, she sits at the edge of my bed. Like, she sits there. Like, you know how when you're laying in bed and you feel someone come and they sit down? That's what I felt. She sat at the edge of my bed, and that woke me up. And I was wearing the same thing that I went to bed with. And I remember getting up, and she used to call me mocosa because I was younger than her. And mocosa's like, what do you call like a mocosa? Yeah. You know what a mocosa is?
Yeah, for sure.
So she used to call me a mocosa, and she's like, mocosa, like, tengo que hablar contigo. And I'm like, where you been? Like, te extraño. Like,
so was this a dream?
This was a dream to me. It was a dream, but I literally felt like it was real.
Yeah. Okay, you remember I'm telling you that, like, I tend to dream about my mom.
Yeah.
And the shit feels real. Like, it's crazy. I don't know what causes it, what triggers it, but I was like, am I the only one? Because I asked my sister, and it's like, my brothers, and they're like, no, I have not.
So my grandma just passed away, like, not too long ago, and my mom says that all her brothers have dreamed her already. My sister has dreamed of her, but she hasn't.
Your mom hasn't?
My mom hasn't.
It's not her
and
time.
She's like, I want to, because I want to, like,
see
yeah,
her.
But she's like, I just don't. I don't.
Yeah, and in that moment, I felt her, and I got up. I'm like, you don't know how much I missed you. Like, I'm going through it, sis. Like, te extraño, your mom. They had to put her mom on medicine to kind of like, I call it human tranquilizer, because that's what the hell that medicine is.
Yeah.
It would literally put them they would numb all their emotions. It's a strong medicine that they had this, her mom on. And so I felt her, I touched her hands. The crazy thing is I couldn't see her face. It was white. Her face was just white, like a white, just like a smoke. But her hair, my sister was known for her curly hair. Like, she had crazy curly hair. And I could see her hair, and she hugged me, and she's like, look, hermanita, te quiero mucho, te extraño. She's like, pero ya no llores por mí. And I'm like, ¿cómo que no llores? Like, I miss you. Like, I miss our stories. She's like, I'm here. Like, platícame. Like, tell me. And then in my dream, I'm sitting there like, is this for real? Like, it felt so real because I felt the heat. Her at the edge of my bed. And was Daniel there in the dream? I don't remember seeing him. I just remember me being the only one on the bed. And then she hugs me, and then she's like, hey, I need you to give my mom this message. And I'm like, your mom está perdida. Like, she's so lost without you. She's like, I need you to give my mom this message. And I'm like, okay, ¿qué es? She's like, dile. And then she gave me the message. Till this day, I do not remember what that message was. But I was like, okay. So she told me that message. She's like, ella va a saber que soy yo. And I'm like, okay. And so instantly, after my sister vanished, she's like, ya no llores por mí, yo estoy en el paraíso, yo no estoy sufriendo. No te preocupes, dijo, haz mejor para ti, don't worry about me, like, I'm not suffering anymore. I'm like, okay, like, that calmed me down. And I remember that instantly, I remember, like, when you're getting out of that deep dream, and I get up, and I'm just like, yeah, try to figure.
Remember everything.
And in that moment, Daniel's there, and he's like, are you okay? And then I was just like crying of happiness, and I start telling him everything that was happening. And then it took me 30 days to tell her mom this message, because I was like, if I tell her, she's gonna think I'm crazy. I start self-doubting myself. And then finally, like, right before the 30th day hit, I remember I prayed about it. I said, you know what, God, if this is real, if this is you, like, give me a sign to tell her. And her mom calls me. And I'm like, okay, I cannot make this stuff up. Like, if she's calling me, that means I need to relay the message. So I'm talking to her, talking to my sister's mom, and I have a, good relationship with her. And I started talking to her, and I told her, oiga, Ophelia, soñé a mi sister y me dijo que le dijera esto. So when I told her that message, she cried, yelled. You know how when you're just crying and you just yell at the top of your lungs? And she cried and she's yelling, and then she stopped. She's like, I guess it was a saying that her and my sister had every night before they went to bed. I didn't know about it. But when I told her the message, she knew that it was like dead ass real.
Chills. Woo!
And so that's when I knew. I was like, okay, I believe in God.
Yeah.
Because that was insane that she called me, and I was doubting myself of giving her that message. Man. And I was like, I got to be obedient. And when she called, I was just okay. So when I told her.
You say obedient because, man, go ahead.
If I wasn't obedient to that word, I think I would have blocked myself from a blessing, from something that was supposed to occur.
That you were supposed to do.
Yeah. And it's crazy because till this day, I cannot tell you what that message was because it wasn't for me to know. It was for her to know the message and for me to relay the message. And she cried and she's like, how did you know that? And I was like, soñé mi sister anoche, or hace 30 días. Dije, pero I did not know how to come to you and explain because I figured you were going to think I'm crazy.
That's a tough one. That's
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, she's going to think que estoy loca, that I'm losing it. And when I told her, she cried. She said, me and her have a saying that we talk every single night before we go to bed, no matter where she is in the world, because my sister traveled a lot. And when you told me that I knew, and in the message, the only thing I do remember about the message is that she told me, tell my mom that I said to stop looking in the mirror and blaming herself. Tell her that I said stop doing that I love her, to stop crying for me, I'm fine, and then the message. That part I do remember. But the saying, because the saying wasn't for me. The saying was for them. You know what I'm saying? For them together. And so to me, when I celebrate Dia de los Muertos, I always feel her spirit around me. I don't know if you guys saw the video of the Dia de los Muertos, like past weekend. It happened at Santa Fe South. We did a benefit event. And so when the program was going on, I spoke about Dia de los Muertos. And as I spoke about it, I just remember closing my eyes, and I just felt that spirit come back, that same feeling, and I couldn't hold it, and I just started just emotions. And to me, it's like, when something is real, you can't hide it. It's like that feeling. It don't matter where you are, you feel it. It's like you just let those tears of joy or sadness, or that let me know that my difuntos, like our loved ones that passed away, were there with me. Yeah. That was like a wrap. Like, I felt the love, I felt that warmth, and I felt that spiritual
side.
Like
nobody needs to tell you anything at all. You already felt it. So it's like yesterday, we're kind of to piggyback off of the obedience thing that you were saying. We're at the barbershop, and this guy, I'm cutting him up, and he's always doing really well. Really fucking, he always has jewelry. And yesterday he came in, and he was like dirty, like from work type thing. So we're outside smoking, like, and he just starts talking to me. He was like, man, we start talking about God, and he's like, I was just taught to be, I just had a lesson happen to me to where I need to be obedient, because I didn't realize that God could take away anything at any point.
In an instant.
So he's like, I was so worried about fucking trapping and doing this and that, making money, having jewelry and all this. And he's like, I don't know, where shit just was bad, it was bad. And now I'm fucking working for minimum wage and shit. I'm like, dang. He's like, but he's like, the good thing about all that is that I see it as God giving me a lesson
another chance
to be obedient. Like, just how you have all that, I can take it away. And I was like, damn, bro.
Do you think there's a better way to kind of take, like, death in a better way, instead of it being like, so, like, we grow up thinking like, damn, we're gonna die, it's terrible, like, we don't want that day, so we kind of fear like dying, and like we don't know when that time is gonna come. So it's like,
or the close ones to you die,
or so that too. So like, do you think is a better way to kind of look at it in a different perspective?
I think that, and I'm going to say this from experience here recently. My husband lost his dad in March, and he was the glue. He was the king of the family. It's like you would go to him for everything. And Daniel, I know he won't get mad because I say this, but he's a little lost. And I think that, and I always tell him, like, babe, like, acércate a Dios. I'm not telling you, I'm not going to Bible, thump you. I'm not going to, tell you to, be religious all of a sudden, but you have to have a relationship with God, or a spiritual relationship. We're all sinners. We all, try to do good, and sometimes we do bad, but you always have to remember that he's a forgiving God. Like, he forgives us for everything that we do, and he's not going to make you do anything you don't want to. He's not going to make you, so he's not going to make you be obedient. He expects you to be obedient. So when we're not, it's kind of like we're teaching ourselves our own lesson. And I feel like you have to have that relationship with, you have to have that spiritual relationship. So I don't think when you lose someone, it's hard. It's very, very hard to deal with it. And, and still now, like, he's going through it. And I try, I always, lay my hand over his heart, and I just ask God to soothe that pain, because it's hard. And I'm super patient. There's no time limit when it comes to grieving. It's like when you're ready. But I feel like we are all going to go through that phase one day or another. And I feel like when we have that relationship with God, it's like there's an ease. There's this calmness that he gives us, letting us know that it's going to be okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I feel like people that don't have that relationship, I think that it's way harder for them. Way harder.
Yeah, it's, obviously a long-term relationship. When you break up, that's one of the cause for depression, and then losing somebody. So I feel like you do have to go through that, like, slump of, like, damn, I lost this person. Like, I won't be able to see them again, but it's like what you said. At a certain point, you have to, like, be like, all right, God, like, take this pain away from me, and, like, I gotta move forward, because like, we don't want this. Like I said, my mom didn't want to see me like crying at night, and like just kind of saying like, damn, I could have been a better son, and this and that, because it's just that energy transmits. So I'm over here just being the tough one, but I have pain deep down inside of me. And then when I get into my room at night, I'm like, fuck, I miss you, Mom. Like, I wish I could have been a better person. And it's a lot of things. So it's like, I was like, I need to stop. I need to become a better person, watch out for my brothers as I promised her. So like, and I've learned that. And so I'm like, now I'm at peace, now I'm, I'm better, and I'm always watching out for them, giving my brothers the best advice, and becoming a better person. I think the spiritual side of things also has helped me. You talk about a meditation. So, how did you get into meditation, and what is it? What does your routine look like when you meditate?
I think that, let me back up just a little bit on that part that you're saying about your mom. I feel like losing anyone is painful, but when you lose a mother and a father, that's the pain for that is like beyond.
Never gonna.
Yeah, it's
what,
like
what my dad says is that you'll never learn. You just learn to live with it, basically. Like, it's kind of like
you have to train yourself to know, like, to keep pushing. And I admire the people that they have lost a mother or dad, and they keep pushing, and they keep doing successful things like that right there. It's like you're honoring your mom. Like,
that's what I always tell him. I'm like, bro, I didn't, because at the time when that happened, I knew him, and I would have never known that happened, because he kept such a positive. He came into work still smiling, until somebody said like I don't know how somebody found out, but I was like, what? I didn't even ask him though, because I was like, if he didn't tell me, it's because he doesn't.
I called Carrie and told her, the situation, and nobody knew, like, because I just like, I don't want people, because that's the first word that comes out is like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you didn't want to feel pity or
right.
like,
I don't like, even when people say that they have somebody that passed away, I don't say sorry.
I tried. I had to fix that because I just kind of, I'm like, man,
It's hard. Like, to me,
it's kind of like a weird.
Like, if anything, I feel you. Like, I feel you, if anything, because I've lost somebody. So when somebody comes to me and say I lost somebody, I'm like, I feel you. I know what that pain feels like, you know? So it's like.
Yeah, and to me, I feel like you're honoring your mom. Like, everything positive that you do and you pushing your brothers, like, you don't understand the blessings that you're creating. And I always tell people, you know, some of my close friends have also lost their mom and have gone through it. And I've always told her, like, what are some of the trades that your mom was known for? Like, keep her alive. You know, if she loved the holidays, be the queen of holidays. Go all out like she did. If your father was known to do certain things, keep those traditions alive, because, you know,
that's what he would want.
Yeah, our great grandparents, our ancestors, that spirit keeps going. People think that no, it keeps going. It literally keeps going into the next generation.
I forgot who said that your spirit is dead when nobody ever talks about it no more, which will be, I mean, because your grandkids are probably going to talk about, somebody's going to say your name or somebody's going to talk about you. So that's going to be a long time, hopefully, you know.
And the spiritual side, when I was, this was probably about 15 years, I want to say 10, in between 10 and 15 years ago. 10 years ago, let's go with that. I met a guy and a couple, an older couple, Israel Mireles and Esther Mireles.
Mireles? That's my dad's.
Is it? He used to be a preacher. He passed away, but I met them and I just started, you know, going with them and I think at that time I was like spiritually hungry. Like, I wanted to do good things, do good deeds, but at the same time, partying and drinking and all that
was still
just
fun.
It's easier to do. It was funner to do. But I knew that my grandma, I could hear my grandma, my grandpa, like, to honor them. I'm like, no, that's not right. And so I just started getting involved with them, and I just remember that I had all these good experiences being around people that were spiritual. And so I started learning more about, you know, God. I started learning more about the spiritual realm when I was with them, and they were an amazing couple. And an experience that I had with them, this is crazy. One of my good friends was dating this guy, and I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to start nothing, but I was like, man, she cannot talk to this guy. Like, this guy, this is not the guy for her. Like, this dude, like, you know, I didn't know how to come about it. I was like, okay, God, if you want me to tell her.
He's a fuckboy.
Yeah, like that he is not a good fit for her. Show me a sign. I'm like, because this dude is, you know, is friends with the, you know, her man, and that's not gonna work. Like, this, no. And so I'm like, okay, God, if you don't want me to say anything and you want me to shut my mouth, let her wear purple tomorrow. Why I said purple, I don't know, because she worked at a medical clinic. So I'm like, let her wear purple, and if she shows up tomorrow to the youth center, because I volunteered a lot at the youth center, let her wear purple. And if she comes in and wears purple or something purple, I just won't say nothing to her. But as a good friend, I wanted to let her know, like, don't get with that guy. Like, don't, you know. And she walks in and she's wearing purple top scrub, purple bottom scrub, and Nikes that were black and purple. So that told me to shut the hell up. So I didn't say anything in that moment. And now she's married to him. They have 2 kids, and like, they're totally opposite of what my mind.
Oh, so he wasn't a fuckboy.
No.
Oh,
isn't
so
that,
you were
but
wrong.
I knew the bad side of him. So I'm like, my friend's a good girl. Like, no, you're
So
not going to
people change,
corrupt.
is what you're saying.
Yeah. So shut it up, you know, or pray for it before you speak.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned.
Yeah, that is true, because he might have been that guy that's like really trying to change, and he did change.
Then he did change. Maybe she helped her change.
But then that sucks how your past
here, like,
haunts you.
Yeah.
Yes, because I knew, like, he had just got out of prison. He was a 3rd-time felon, which that doesn't mean anything, because if you want to change, you can change.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want her to get involved with him,
that
because
lifestyle.
I already knew what he would do to the girls, and he would just bring them down, and I was just like, I don't want that for her. Like,
Yeah.
she's such a good girl, and blah, blah, blah. And
That
then-
is a tricky one, because there's times where I've been in that position where I'm just like, should I say something? Should I?
Shut up.
But then, you never,
And I didn't say anything to her. I didn't say anything to her, because when I saw her wearing all purple, even when she walked in, I was like my mouth was open and everything. I was like, and she's like, are you okay, girl? What's wrong? And I was like, nothing. We're just sitting there like, dang, okay, God, I got your message. And I didn't say anything. Now I told her, she cracks up, because he's a totally opposite person.
changed it
Now
up.
he
Hey, shout out to that guy, whoever he
yes,
is.
and I won't say it because I don't want to.
Yeah.
But he's a super spiritual guy now. He's into the whole youth, and they just signed on their forever home like a couple of days ago, and
I
I'm
feel
super
too that
proud.
people that have gone through shit are, I mean, everybody's powerful that's preaching positive, but somebody that was like in a bad place and then is able to come out of it is kind of more credible, because it's like, okay, this dude was actually in a fucked up position, like, and actually now he's good. So yeah, that's dope.
So I got involved that way. I was going to a youth center, and I was getting involved with the kids. I just always had a heart for like the neighborhood, like the south side or the southeast side, because I grew up in Kerr Village, and so we never had like a whole lot of good mentors or people to guide you the right way. And I wasn't a big person to guide people, but I was always trying to get them involved into things that would stray them away from bad. And so that was one of my spiritual sides. And then I ended up meeting this amazing soul named Polly. And I always share her stuff on my...
We actually want to get her on the podcast.
Oh, you have to get
Yes.
her.
She's from Oklahoma?
She's from Oklahoma. She is, I believe, Filipino. And she's where I got my meditation side. So I met her through an ad.
It's
It
crazy
sounds
how you
crazy.
can kind of look at, because we were looking and we found her. I think you have her on Facebook.
Well, she sent me a
Yeah, I think
message
it was-
one day and was like, you
I
need her on
I
the
remember,
podcast.
yeah, and then-
but then we just never got around
Yeah.
to it.
She has this insane energy that it's almost like an addicting energy. Like when you're not, I would see her 3 to 4 times a week. And then when I would go without seeing her, I'd be like, hey, like, let's link up, or
Yeah.
let's have
Yeah.
coffee.
Because you wanted to absorb her energy.
Yes, and then she's still to this day, she's so positive. And so I found her in an ad I wanted to do like an at-home training. I hate big gyms, and I wanted to do like a couples challenge. And so I found her ad, and I get to her house, and I tell her to this day, I was kind of creeped out, because I thought, like, are we gonna get chopped up or something? Because the ad was so, it was kind of weird, but something told me to go to that address. And so we met up, whatever, and then she started training me and Daniel a long time ago. And we were training, and then we clicked, and then sometimes I would get sick. We started talking about the whole gym thing, the health, spirituality and all that. And then she started teaching me how to meditate, like how to do it. And then she got me into yoga. Like, it's insane what you can learn from yoga.
Oh, man.
So many benefits.
Man,
Shit.
so many benefits. Like, I started noticing things that were going on with me, like health-wise, and I would call her and tell her, hey, she's like, yeah, it's because you're doing yoga. And she does this thing called Yoga Nidra. That's a whole nother level of yoga, to where you go into a sleep trance, and you literally dig deep into, you go through each chakra of your body, and you go into a deep sleep. You sweat while you're laying there. There's people that will sweat. There's people that will cry. There's people that will laugh, because they have trauma that's sitting there for years.
Man, I totally believe in that. It's there's this thing called bioenergetics, and that's what you just reminded me of. And it's basically tension throughout your body. So like even those foam rollers, have you ever used the foam roller?
Yeah. Very familiar with
so when you use those, you'll feel the tension in different parts of your stomach, and it'll shake, you'll literally.
Well, that's what Yoga Nidra is.
Yeah.
She makes
and
you.
then you breathe, and then you feel the shake in the breath but if you do like 10 breaths in that same position,
Yeah.
the breath you'll go from
calming down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
See, and that's the thing is that people don't understand when it comes to energy and trauma that she educated me on. She's a very, very educated when it comes to yoga, the yoga nidra. She explains everything to the T to where you understand. A lot of people, you know how when you go and get a massage, they tell you what areas do you want me to trigger, and a lot of people don't understand that they hold their stress in their shoulders, in their back, in their feet, like different areas because everyone's different. And so she says that people that go through a car wreck or a trauma, like a childhood trauma, they carry it like in their pelvis area, or like women carry it in their pelvis area. And so she has us do this yoga nidra, and then she'll have us do a sit, lean our back against the wall, and then you bring up your feet, or your feet like on tippy toes, and your back is completely against the wall, and you have to exhaust that pain, that energy that's in there, and then all of a sudden your legs start shaking, and you're just like, what the hell?
And you can't control it.
No.
It's weird.
Crazy.
Like,
you guys, I'm gonna have you guys need to do a session with her.
Yeah,
like,
I know,
you
for sure.
guys,
And then
I used to do yoga a lot, and I don't know why I do that. Like, there's things that are good for me, and then I just stop doing them. Like,
Right, because I think what it is too, it's like, it's just, I don't know if it's like, because sometimes I don't want to go to the gym, but I know it's good for me mentally and like, but it's like, it's just,
why am I
guess,
doing it? Like, every time I
Right.
finish, I'm like, why don't I do this more often?
right, exactly.
But
So
then when it's time to do it, it's like,
I think it's more
It's
of
the
the
hardest part
It's
to go in
hard
there.
to do because it's
To
easier,
start.
right? And that's what we were talking about. Like, it's harder to it's easier to go and drink and do the, like, you know, that.
And then I don't know too. Like, I guess whenever you work out, like halfway through the workout, you're feeling great, but that first, like, warming up, that's why I don't even like warming up, because it's like I want to feel that pump already.
Yeah,
man.
definitely we want to do that, and like if we are able to like film it, I think do like a mini documentary on it. Because
Well, the thing is, I feel like those things at first, it's best to just experience without any.
But then that would be
cameras, nothing,
the
because then you can't really focus your energy because you're worried about trying to capture the moment when
You're
it's
right.
like you should be focused on
right
yourself.
mental, getting the energies, and but that definitely we would like to do that, because one thing I've tried to incorporate more is that the yoga into like my workouts, and I even like I want to get into the routine where I'm doing them at home, where if I'm not going to the gym that day, I can still, because I've been waking up early, and that's something that I love doing. Like I used to wake up at 10, 11. I'm like, no, that needs to change. I need to get up early so I can get stuff done. And not only that, it's just like, it feels good. Like if I'm able to like.
I think Wiz Khalifa was like, I traded late nights for early mornings.
Yeah, I like that better.
Your
too.
day will be different. Like, I'm human. There's days that I just don't want to get out of bed, but I feel so guilty when I've learned to not feel guilty about it, but just have one rest day to where I'm at home and I don't do nothing. I literally don't. I try to say, take the phone away, but on my days that I'm off, that I'm not doing anything, doing stuff
connecting,
like
networking.
Right, I'm on bed, I'm in the bed, and then just.
Do you think, because you're kind of like me in a way, you're like wanting to hustle, like I got to get my stuff out there, I got to connect. And you mentioned earlier that you have a hard time going to sleep sometimes because you're thinking. Yeah. That's when you had a hard time sleeping too, right? At night, sometimes it's
I used to. Lately, I've been kind of chilling. So
right, but you've controlled that.
Like a baby.
Do you think it's like maybe it's like a hustler's mentality? That's because I have those nights where I'm like, what's the next move? Like, what do I got to do? Like,
maybe it has to do too with like what your day was like. Because if you had a day full of work and stuff, at the end of the night, you would imagine you're just ready to go to bed. Like.
Sometimes that's
you
not even
are,
the case.
but no, that's not. But what I've learned that and this is something that I learned from Polly also, is she's an artist in so many ways, and it's so important as an individual for you to have a mentor. Like, you cannot go live in this world without somebody that you can go to. You have to have somebody. I'm not saying a best friend, but someone that is. Like to me, if I'm going through some issues or if I'm stuck somewhere, I go to her. Polly is my go-to. And we'll have a session and she answer my question, and then just talking, I'm just like, oh, okay. So she's taught me to write at night. So I have a journal.
Yep.
And I literally, she's like, it's kind of like you're emptying out all your thoughts into
And
paper.
you know, did you have a hard time the first time you did it?
A little bit, because I'm like, this is gonna sound
God damn,
stupid.
I'm
What if
writing
someone
this shit?
finds
Like,
it?
I'm really writing this shit?
But then I thought, okay, I'm a very open book. Like, I'm not gonna hide these emotions or these feelings that I think. And so I started writing. I would write them out, and if I wouldn't do it that night, I would do it in the morning. As soon as I got up, I would start, writing. And now I have another person that I've connected with that is an amazing person that never in my wildest dreams that I think I was going to connect with this person. But going through personal development is so important when you have your own business, because you can be business savvy all you want, but you can be a shitty person to people. You might not have that people skills, but you are an amazing business person. I don't know if you guys have run into people like that. So I started investing in myself, doing personal development, and I found one. I'm like, okay, I was Googling, doing my research, and I'm like, I need to find someone that I'm going to click with. And I was Googling, doing some research, going through Instagram, just searching, and I ran into one called Living Firme, and I share this all the time. They've helped me grow so much. And I know everybody knows the movie Mi Vida Loca. Have you seen that movie before?
I've heard
it sounds
of
familiar.
Okay, so it's basically her from Mi Vida Loca, sad girl from Mi Vida Loca. So it's a team. It's their business is called Living Firme, and they have this thing called Junto, and it's a mindset, mastermind, personal development course that you take, and it's like 4 weeks long. And so when I paid for it at first, I was just like, damn, it's kind of pricey. But then I thought, okay, this is an investment. Like, I start reading all the reviews, and everyone had like amazing reviews.
results.
So I'm like, and these girls are hood. Like, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone that used to be hood, that is professional now, but that they're still classy and they're still professional, but they have that little touch.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna fit in this. So I took the first class, and that's one of the things that Angel has taught me, which is Sad Girl. She has taught me about journaling, like writing things down before you start your day. Meditate. You sit there and you claim your day, just quiet. And you just sit there and you just embrace that quietness, that moment before the chaotic day you're going to have, or whatever day you're going to have.
Yeah.
But she has taught us to embrace that moment. And, you have to program your mind. That
So much turbulence going on out there, man. That's the hard part about the world. That it's like you said, everything is energy. So there's energy everywhere. Like,
and this is what I tell people. Let's say you get a full paycheck. All right, so you got to pay all your bills, right? And then when you don't have money, how do you feel?
Stress. And
Or
like,
upset.
fuck. Like, yeah.
Damn.
want to pull a lick on a motherfucker.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's energy. Your energy is down. Your energy is mad, sad. And money is energy. Money, it depends on, that's why they say, don't let money make you,
You make
money, right? So that's how she has taught us to see, like, everything is energy. And I encourage everybody to lock in with someone that's a mentor. Don't think that, I'm an adult, I don't need that. I know I've already lived my life. I'm full of wisdom. No. There's something new that you can learn every single day from somebody. Lock in with somebody that's a mentor.
And like you said, it's a lot of like the constructive criticism thing. Like, sometimes we don't see things within ourselves. Somebody kind of has to
Point them out.
Yeah, you see it. Yeah, it's like seeing it from the outside view.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy because, like, you guys have this podcast, and for you guys probably think, okay, well, this is, small beginnings, we're beginnings. You guys have no idea how much you guys are impacting the city. Like, I hear about people talking about this, and I'm like, I don't know if you remember, AV, when you did Mijas Quince pictures,
yes.
3 years ago? I remember I came in here, that desk was over here, and I walked in, and I was like, I had 4 photographers to pick from, but I don't know why my energy drew to him. I had 4 photographers, and I remember.
And ever since then, like, there's been something that I'm like, I love that lady. She's just, she.
That's the first thing you said when I was like, let's get vintage. And
Yeah,
she's like,
she
she's
fueled
nice.
me. Like, I was like, man, like, like she just believed in me so much. I was like, damn, that's awesome.
Like he gave me his price, and then
Yeah.
I didn't even complain. I was just like, I've been seeing his work, and I've been seeing this, and I'm like, and I remember that day I came in and I gave you, half the chunk of money, and I remember I was telling you, I was like, man, you're gonna go somewhere bigger than this. I didn't know what it was.
I didn't either.
I didn't know what it was,
Yeah.
but I remember speaking it.
You did.
That day,
yeah.
I was like,
And even from time to time, you'll randomly send me messages like,
positive messages.
Yeah.
See, people come to I don't want to sound like a crazy. Arely calls me a wizard. She's like, okay, wizard. But it's not that. It's like my intuition is, and I'm human. I get angry. I screw up. Flip out sometimes. I think that's the human in me. But I have this spiritual side that I can't explain, that I know that I got from my grandmother, from my dad's mom. And it's something that, like, if
you just randomly think of somebody, and then I get that all the time,
and I'll send them a message.
Me too. It'll be people that I haven't really talked to or something, and I'm just like, I thought about you, like
and there's a meaning to that. It's like, don't ignore that. If someone pops in your head, even if you're texting them real quick to say, hope all is well, or hope everybody's doing good. Just a simple, because you don't know if that person prayed for help, and then they popped in your spirit, and a lot of people say, like, God, I can't go to sleep. I can't go to sleep. Or I wake up at 3 a.m. every day, or at 4 a.m, like, and I hate that. That means you're supposed to be praying for somebody. That's what that means. 3 o'clock in the morning is la hora de Dios, my grandma would say. My dad's mom would always tell me that if you wake up at 3 a.m, esa es la hora de Dios. And that means you're supposed to be praying for somebody. So if at night you feel weary, or you just feel like something that means that
pray.
You need to pray. You need to, like, set everything aside and literally focus on scripture, or just reading, or feeding your soul. That means your soul's hungry for that. And like me, I will confess to you, I don't have a Bible on my nightstand to where I'm flipping through, like, the old days, but I do have a daily devotional that I get every morning and every night.
What? I'm sorry?
A daily devotional.
What is that?
Like, if you download the Bible app, you can get a daily devotional, or if you follow, like, a lot of people follow, like, Joel Osteen, or, like, a spiritual person, you get a daily devotional.
Oh,
to
so like
me,
a
that's
scripture?
Kind of, yeah. So that, to me, is kind of like a daily devotional. So you devote yourself to
that message.
Or trying to do better.
Okay.
So, like, to me, it's like, I do one at night, and I try to do one in the morning. The night one is always a given. I always read that one, and it's right now. The one I'm reading is called "Quiet Time with My Soul," and I think that's very important, because our life is so chaotic that we don't. It's like we go and buy shoes, we go and buy new things for the outside. I was reading this message just last night on a podcast that I was listening to on my way back home from Wichita. And it said, he said, we're so quick to feed our outside and get haircuts and, look fly and everything. But we neglect to feed and get ready the internal. And I'm like, damn, that was deep. Like, that's so true. Like, to feed the inside. Because you can be the most beautiful person in the world, but you got that ugly inside.
Oh, yeah.
That just.
And it's so weird, because it like reflects, like, because I took a month off because I was fucking up. I was just drinking too much, and I went back to the shop Friday, and as soon as I walk in, everybody's like, "Damn, bro, you look different. Like, your face looks different. I'm like, damn, I didn't even notice. But then I look at it, I'm like, damn, I do. Like, before I was looking all red, and it didn't matter if I got a haircut. I was still looking like shit because the inside was fucked up, like, and I was drinking and just not.
I think that now that I'm going on, this December will be my 3rd year with Vintage Latina. When I started it, I didn't go strong. Like, I started off, and this is crazy. I sat in a room that was super quiet. I sat there and I meditated, and I'm a crafty person. I like to make things. And Pedro Infante came to my spirit, like the image of Pedro Infante, Maria Felix. And those are two big iconic in the Hispanic world. And I'm like, you know what? So I just started messing with my printer, and I remember making these ornaments.
Oh, I remember those.
Do you remember those?
Yes.
And then that came to my mind, that came to my creativity. And so I set the mood. I burned my sage and I set the mood, and all of a sudden, bam, all these ideas started flowing.
Yeah.
Those ornaments is what started the store, because I didn't know what I was going to sell. I did not know what I was going to sell. I did not know what my plan B, or plan C. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I was created to create. So I sat there and I did those ornaments, and then from there, bam, next thing you know, I started carrying these, because I'm a big believer in the pulsera de ojo, to absorb any bad energy and just keep you, woke, like they say, to keep you woke. So I started carrying these, and I started selling out. Because when you tell people the purpose of it, then you're like, oh, that's what that's for. Like, I didn't know that's what it was for.
It adds something to it. It's kind of like what they say with the sales. Like, you have to sell the dream. You got to tell them what it, and that's what's up.
And I feel like everything that I sell is things that I personally own, that I personally love, and I'm just like, damn, I want to share everything I love with people.
And at that point, it's not even selling almost. It's just like, again, I talk a lot about Dame Dash on this podcast, but that's one of the things that he said is like, when I found out that I could just sell everything I love, then having a job became easy, because I was just...
You're doing what you love.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel now with this, because...
And you have a store for this?
Yeah. So right now I have an online store. Finally, the course that I took with Live Firme taught me how to market. They taught me how to do the website. So I'm a traveling vendor. I don't have like a physical store. I just basically have a trailer, and I sell out of the trailer.
So you're constantly on the grind,
I'm
hustle,
always,
move.
and from state to
car
state.
shows.
I go to, my biggest one is car shows. Like, that's where I feel like I connect, because I have a car. We have a car, and to me, I'm kind of like, me as a wife, when I go to car shows, I want to find things that are girly. You know what I'm saying? Not just rims and car cleaner. And so I thought, you know what? I'm gonna start marketing the car shows, because all the guys take their wives, and I know they got money, and they want to spend on good things. And my stuff is so inexpensive. I make it.
And the guys just, as long as there's beer out there, fuck it.
They don't care. Yeah. And so then I was like, okay, well, I'll do one pop up. So I did my first pop up, and I sold out of a lot of stuff, and I was like in shock. I was just like, and it was crazy, because this was
do you still have those trays?
I can't keep. I don't have any right now. Those sold like
the blood and blood ounces were those were epic.
And so I sold out, and I was just like, damn. And and my husband, and so one thing I do that I always, before I start any pop-ups or any event, I will always sage my area.
Talk about that as well.
Yes.
Because right now you gave us some sage. That's what they're called.
Yes.
And then you also came in and cleared out the energy, make sure so kind of talk to us about this, and how did you get into this?
Into that. Okay. So yeah, I do a whole cleansing before I start. Because I feel like any human goes to a place with an intention of whatever the intention is, whether to buy or to meet new people. So I always do the saging just to clear the air, any negative. And in the spiritual world, if you've dealt with sage, you understand there's a relief that comes over you after you sage. And I've had good luck, thank God, that as soon as I put my stand up and I'm saging, I'm not even done, and my booth is already full. And my mother-in-law last night told me, she's like, I'm so proud of you. She's like, it's crazy how you're not even done setting up, and you got people already lining up to buy your stuff. And so I've learned, with this class, this Junto class that I'm taking, this is a business one, because I take both of them. I feel like you have to, personal and business.
Be balanced.
Yeah, I balance. So they've taught me to always make each sell an experience. You know what I'm saying? You can come up to me and be like, oh, yeah, do you sell hats? Yeah, I do. And then you just...
That's it.
And that's it. I'm not going to buy that hat from you. But you're like, oh, you can sell hats? Yes, I do sell hats. Matter of fact, this is one of my favorites. I rock this all the time. I get super,
No han mirado al que he sells empanadas.
Yeah.
You haven't seen him?
No.
El Empanadas le dicen. Continue. I'm going to look him up.
And so you make it an experience. And so, you know, I started selling the sage, and I'm going to tell you guys a story. So I always buy sage from, I'm very, very picky when it comes to my sage. Because, like I said, energy sits with everything. So when I start doing this class with Living Firme, the whole purpose of that class is to network and meet people from all over the world. So this is in California. So you got people tuned in from all over, and I was buying sage from a certain person for a long time, and then I met her. And when I heard her story and everything, I'm like, okay, I'm going to order some sage from her. You know, I'm going to see, you know, what's up. So I ordered some sage from her, and I got my personal bundles, and I burned it. And I always turned sage on with an intention of a new chapter, or a new getting away, you know, getting rid of all the old funk. And I sat there, and I'm super picky. And the day that I turn on the bundles that I get made from her mother and her, when I turned that bundle on, God, I can't even explain it. And I'm going to sound crazy, but when you do sage and you burn sage, you'll understand. There is just this energy, like a calmness, like a happy. You know how when you buy a fit and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, damn, I'm rocking that. Like that happiness that you feel because you just feel like it's right.
Is it dopamine maybe?
I don't know what you call it. It's just that feeling that you're just like, God, this feels right. This feels good. Or, you know, when your mom
I wouldn't say dopamine.
I felt a sense of like peace when you were doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like.
So it's like a happiness. So when I lit that sage, in that instant, I felt this happiness, like, man, and I did my entire house. I even did my kids. I had each one line up, and I, you know, did a cleanse over all of them. And my oldest.
Kind of like what they say, like kind of like butterflies type thing. Kind of like when you're excited to,
for something new. Like, damn, I heard about this, but I didn't know about it. And so when I did the sage that, you know, I ordered from Maritza, she's a friend of mine.
Like Perla said on the last one, where you been all my life?
Yeah. And so I burned it, and just this man, I'm not going to say it's crazy, but like this feeling of calmness, almost like tamed that craziness in a chaotic house, because I got stuff going on everywhere. So it's kind of like it brought down everything, and then we were calm. And I did this right before we were going to go to bed. So that night, I remember... Wait.
So were things still chaotic, but you were able to just handle them better? Or was everything actually like kids were doing what they were... Like everything was
everybody was calm. Like, my house is not chaotic crazy, but it's kind of like I have so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
So after I did the sage, everybody was kind of like...
Yeah,
like,
chill pill.
Yeah, like everybody. And so everybody went to bed, and everything. The next morning, I remember Adeli waking up. She's like, man, Mom, I slept really, really good. And Mijo, too, when he went to his house. And I told him, I was like, you know, ¿cómo amaneciste? And he's like, Mom, I felt real good. He's like, I literally knocked out when I went home. Like, it was almost like it's almost like a big vacuum. It just sucks all that bad when you're burning it in the fumes, and you just feel calm.
Yeah.
Do you have smoke alarms at your house?
Yeah, I have to take them out.
Do you have to turn them off?
I gotta take them out.
I have a couple of them.
So just take the battery out, or you know, open up the windows, and
So what's that one? I don't know if you know, but it's like a thing. I seen it on, you know, Josette.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing something on like a bowl, and it made like a noise.
It's a chiming. Polly will, when you guys get Polly, she'll tell you guys more in detail with that. But that's almost like it's a chime. When you do that, and it's a chime to almost to in tune yourself to only concentrate on that and not concentrate on nothing else, because that's what meditation is.
Yeah.
Meditation, it's like they make you concentrate on your breath. So when you're meditating, you know, you're just completely closed, and you just like, you got to hear yourself breathe. And you concentrate on the inhaling, exhaling, because nothing else in that moment matters. What matters is that you're alive, that you have a breath, and that's the important part. Because meditation is self-love, like you loving yourself in that instant and just worrying about that moment.
Breathing is important.
Man, I had this teacher in high school, and she would every time she'd flip out, she'd be like,
calms
That's
you.
her way of calming.
And then she would just like close her eyes, and every teacher there hated her and would like kind of bully her. And now that I look at it, I'm like, they would hate on this lady because she had it figured out.
Yeah. I watched a podcast that really talked in depth about breathing and the importance of it. And it really was interesting because there's so many benefits, especially when you breathe through the nose. They recommend to breathe through the nose instead of the mouth, especially when it comes to sleep. Because I know there's certain people, like my brother does sleep with his mouth open. He's like, I can close my mouth and try to sleep, but that's when I'm like, that's when I fall asleep. I'm like, interesting. Yeah. But then I watched that podcast because I was one too. It's because I'm clogged up too. But there's so many benefits in general. Like when you work out, when you fatigue, instead of like try to breathe through your nose, and you'll feel the difference. Like,
well, yeah, because I mean, the breath is life. You know, like that. If you really think about it, like a lot of people when they have anxiety attacks, the breath gets shallow. Like
That's one thing that probably has taught me to do is breathe, breathe in and out, and then put your hands up, because then you take the weight off your rib cage and your lungs. Man,
I've showed you the exercise that I do when I go to the gym. So I'll basically, you just hold your knees up a little bit, and then, like you said, stretch your fingers out, and go back, and open your mouth wide. But same thing, you'll feel that
rib cage moving.
Shakiness, and that's what it is.
Yeah, and especially in moments like anxiety or panic attacks, like we tend to like.
Elliot Hall says you gotta breathe into your balls.
So like you gotta like instead of being and looking for breath, like control it. Yeah. Once you control it,
and
then
if you think
it's
about
gonna calm you down.
It's panic as to where like a composed person is gonna
be. Yeah. Exactly. So that's
it's tricky. Not only that, but a mental. It's a connection. Your mind, your breathing, you're connecting multiple things all at once, and that's, if you think about it, that's kind of hard to do, because it's like people, and I'm talking from experience. I freaking took an edible one time a while back, a couple years ago.
Oh, I can't do
edibles. And it was out in California, and we were celebrating our 21st anniversary, me and my husband, and so I was like, yeah, I'll get one, thinking whatever. I just wanted to chill, and relax. And I took one, and so Daniel's like, hey, calmate, like, calm down. Like, we're in Cali. Like, this stuff is, like, more potent than what there is here. This was before Oklahoma even became legal. And so I'm like, whatever. Yadira's turning up. She didn't care. So she eats another one, and then, like, 3. Daniel's like, hey, like, that's it. Calm down. So we're in San Diego, and I remember we were in the hotel room, and it was, like, 6 in.the.morning. And it kicked in. And I remember opening my eyes.
That's what I hate about
And those. Then the fan that was in the room turned into a helicopter propeller to me. And I could just hear the swishing. And it's a mental thing. Like, you have to calm yourself down because you will lose it.
Flip the fuck out.
Yes. And so I'm like, oh my God, I don't have any legs. I couldn't feel my legs. It was horrible. Like, I've never experienced that. And
edibles are strong.
Pretty close to like psychedelics. They like to call it.
Pretty close.
Yeah, because I had a bad trip too, and I'm like, never again.
That's
I'm done.
Me.
I'm done. Yes. I'm done with edibles.
Give me a little bit of flour and I'm good.
Yeah. Well, and then that day, we were supposed to go to a big car show, the Chicano Park car show, and I was just bitching out all my friends that night. A las 8. We're getting out of here at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. If y'all ain't ready,
it's 7
you
o'clock
guys
and you're still tripping balls.
It was 10 a.m. and I was still tripping. And then Daniel's cracking up. He's like, "Ándale, te dije, I told you not to." But Yadira was, trying to have,
a good time,
let loose and just, have fun, because I didn't have a kid. I was just being me. Like, I was trying to, just have a good time. Never again. I'm just like, I remember him bringing me food. I could have swore the food was talking to me. I could have swore.
You were tripping like Craig on Fridays.
I was just like, oh my God, no, take that away. And he's like, hey, calmate. He's like, I was like, how do you get rid of this? Like, bring me milk, bring me water, bring me something. He's like, get in the
you just gotta chill.
Yeah, so he's like, go get in the shower. So I'm like wearing my PJs, and he turns the water on, and I'm sitting there holding on to the bar, the handicap bar they have in the showers. And I was so mad at myself because we didn't even really get to the. You
didn't enjoy it at the end.
No, I was so pissed off at myself.
That happened to me twice. And ever since then, I'm like, no, I'm not going to eat no edibles before. I think that's the thing, though, that a lot of people don't understand, that maybe it's not for every occasion. Maybe it's just for you to take a little bit, chill on your couch, and
just be.
yeah. Don't do it when you're gonna go to a baseball game or a car show or no shit like that.
Yeah. So I was sitting there just holding on to the pole that's in the shower, and I'm just sitting there. And I remember hearing Daniel laugh so hard, just cracking up, and I could hear his conversation echo and get further and further, and I was just holding on, and I could swear I was on a boat because I felt like I was swaying left to right, and I was just like, what the
And then
heck?
in your head, you're like, can this already be over with?
Yeah,
Like,
so,
God damn.
Yeah, and so I don't know how long I was in the shower. All I know is that I'm like, Daniel, like, am I done or what do I do? And he's like, oh shit, I forgot you were in the shower. So I don't know how long it was, but he went in there, he's cracking up, and he grabs a towel, and I'm just sitting there like, it won't go away. And then he's like, hey, calm down, like, all right,
breathe.
Yeah, breathe. He's like, you're gonna be all right, baby, you're gonna be all right. Ahorita se te va a quitar. And so I had to, like, you know,
and it's a mental thing.
Yes,
kinda.
I had to calm myself
down. And unfortunately,
down.
there's drugs that like you can't control it no more. You know, but I feel like with weed, it's always when I've had people flip out on weed, it's always like just breathe, bro. Just breathe and you'll be cool. You're not gonna die from it because nobody's died from it. So you're not gonna be the first.
And I'm so like when it comes to medicine, I'm so organic. Like I try to use things that are like teas and things that I can use that are organic because I've seen so many ugly phases around me with drugs, like hardcore drugs and pills that I'm like, I just can't.
You never experimented with any pills or anything back in your...
When I was younger, like when I was a teenager and all that, we smoked. We smoked the blunt and then that was it. And maybe drink a Farm Boons or, back in the day, and that was it. That's why I tell my kids, or my kids' friends now, my older kids, like, damn, like,
you didn't imagine
died
a 15, 16-year-old.
Right. Like, my son lost one of his really good friends just, a year ago. He bought some fake pills and he overdosed on fentanyl. And he was recording himself on Snap, I guess, the saying that he had just bought some pills, and you could tell in the video that he was swelling up. And that's an ugly image to have of your friend going through that because someone could have saved him. But the new culture, the cultura right now, it's kind of like that's a cool thing to do. Is to pop a pill or pop this.
I mean, if you
that.
hear it in every song, every rap song says I pop this, I pop that.
Yeah, and that's what I told.
Scary.
I've told my son, and my daughter, what happened. I'm not encouraging like go get high. I'm not encouraging them that, but I'm stooping to the younger level. Like I was young. I'm not gonna tell you don't drink, because you're gonna become an adult and you're gonna do whatever you want to do, and I'm not gonna be there to control you. But know that don't mess with that, man. Like now
there's it's like the same thing everybody tells you, but there's nothing good that's gonna come out of it. It's like,
and I've had my share of things. Like I've done some, I know my mom's going to watch this podcast and she's not going to know, but she's going to know now. But when I was younger, I remember I tried, a hardcore drug and I got scared. I was young. I was probably like 15 years old. And the sad part about it is that I got it from someone that was related to me.
Yeah.
And now I think about it, I'm like, damn, that's fucked up because they could have stopped me from...
Most times you're going to get the drugs from your friends or your family.
Yeah. And I did, and I tripped out. I really tripped out and I got scared. I'm just like, man, what the hell was I thinking? But it's just like that, the curiosity.
It's like you said too, like la cultura. Like for example, the whole cocaine thing with the in the Mexican community, it's huge. Like it's normal. It's normal to do cocaine and sip when it's like you have a little 14, 15-year-old looking at all their uncles. All the uncles are getting
That's what you're supposed to do.
So yeah, once they're 19, 18, they're like, oh yeah, now I get to have my own.
Now I get why Uncle was acting all weird in his lip and I was twitching and shit. Like, this is what it's normal because they did it. Then why now I can do it, And
then unfortunately, it gets to the point where it's like the person's too deep into it to where it's like can't get out.
I'm glad. Yeah, and I'm glad I like it when guys. I always did weed. I used to smoke a lot of fucking weed a lot and like. Back in the younger age, and like it got to the point where one day I just started overthinking. So I was like, I'm done with that. And then, never got curious with the other drugs. 'Cause I'm like, if the weed is giving me a little bit of a panic attack and
Yeah, you can only
and
imagine what other shit's
yeah,
gonna
like especially when
What's
I
that
like
gonna do?
I'll drink a Red Bull and I'm feeling like I feel good and shit, but sometimes it's like
Too much.
I overdo it. I'm like, oh, shit, nah, hell no, this is too much. So imagine like coke and like these
Hardcore
other
drugs.
yeah. So I'm like, oh hell no, I ain't trying to do this because I
But yeah, for sure, I think it's a culture thing because like in hip hop, that's all it is.
Drugs.
It's just drugs and
Money and
it's-
bitches.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And I tell I've told my son, like, now, gracias a Dios, like he's married to a beautiful young woman that we took her in to the family, like my daughter, and I have a little boy now, but I encourage moms, like, don't feel like you're being nosy, get nosy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like me, I feel bad when my son
so you
felt-
weren't being nosy. You were like,
no, I was just like, to me, I wanted to be the opposite of my parents in a sense. I wanted to be, my mom and my dad were always, my dad owned a bar all his life, and he's always been self-employed all his life. And there's things that I learned about my dad now, and I don't judge him for it because I knew that he was trying to do whatever he could to make us a better life. But I hear the stories, I'm like, damn, my dad, he did that. He was a
Damn,
trapper. My
Pops.
dad did this, everything. But I'm just like, I don't hate my dad. Like, I learned from those, from a lot of things, and I wanted to be the opposite. Like, I'm not trying to be a cool mom. I wasn't trying to be a cool mom. I just wanted to
Understand your kids
Yeah,
better.
I wanted to understand them, and I wanted them to understand that I'm going to give you your privacy. Just don't
no te
just
pases
don't
de
underestimate.
lanza.
Yeah,
Don't
no te
abuse
pases
it.
de lanza, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, don't disrespect me, or don't
As my dad
take
would say, no
advantage.
seas baboso.
Yeah, don't take advantage of my kindness, because then I'm going to be all up in your business and you're not going to like it. And with my son, he was so into baseball and playing and very, very dedicated to ball and all that I didn't even know what was going on until one day we just noticed something, and me and Dad had a deep conversation, and we took him out of school. Dad went in and took him out of school, and we came home and we talked to him, like, what the hell, like, what's going on? And one thing led to another, and then I was that parent that was with him at his classes. Like, he admitted to, yeah, Mom, look, I need help.
Yeah.
Like, he straight up said, look, Mom, I need help. I'm like
But
deep
he-
into it. I can't, like, I get sick when I get off of this. And so I'm like, okay, let's take you. And I took his ass to rehab and to a detox place for 7 days, and then to a rehab after that. And,
And that's brave that I found that out. Like, it's brave to ask for help, because I've
Yeah,
been
for sure.
Like, recently I was in that position where I was lost. I was just like, man, fuck. And then when you're coming off of shit, you're like, what is it called? Like, pues como la cruda, or I don't know what the fuck it is, but you're
it's
just
beyond the cruda.
like, your body's used to those fucking chemicals and shit. You're
Yeah.
just like, fuck.
And that's like the hardest, like you were
Like,
saying.
you just
The
gotta get
first
away.
2 weeks
You know,
were
you
like
gotta
the
get
hardest.
away from everything, because
Yeah.
your body's like, don't know what the fuck. Like,
You have to get away, but you also have to connect with like I said, a mentor, someone
Yeah.
that can say, you know what, I got your back. If it's 3:00 in the morning and you're having an urge, call me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what, my son went through, is that, he went through those phases, and I'm not embarrassed to talk about it. And I know he's not either, because
It's growth.
It's
Shout out
much
to him
growth.
for that, 'cause that's,
it
it's
takes
big.
a lot, and he's still now. Right now, it's like he's still dealing. Like he says, "Mom, I'm just dealing with demons." With my demons, I'm my son. You have control of what it is that's in your path. Like, when me and my husband were younger, we were very young parents, and so I tried to do whatever I could to make money or whatever. And I remember I told my kids this. I don't get into too much detail, but I remember I used to sell to stripper girls. I had friends that were strippers, and I used to sell to them. And I used to drive you talking about
Yeah.
lawyers. I would walk in to go do my drop off, and I would walk in. I'm like, no, I don't want to walk in. Just hurry up, let's do this, let's go.
Yeah.
Let me do what I got to do and go. And I would go, and then you're talking about lawyers, people that
Yeah.
are like big wigs, and I would be like, damn, like this is
Lawyers is
crazy.
actually are some of the worst in that. It sucks, but suicide and drug use is huge in lawyers, because
Yeah.
It's a lot of tension
all
in
the
that
energy you
courtroom,
gotta deal with,
then,
man.
all the energy it goes
And
back to that.
that's why I tell my kids, I'm very open with my kids, and Mija's probably gonna, because I don't think she knows about that side, because I really don't talk to them about that, but I'm pretty open with my son a little more, just because he's been around that world that I want him to know, like, look, son, I did some stuff and I regret doing, but it's taught me I would never want to put you guys in that position. You know, I would never want to do that, you know, to you guys, because now that I sit here and think about it, I'm like, damn, there I go. If you would call me at 2 a.m, and I'm not going to say I was like, oh, you know, mafiosa. No, I just made enough money to buy what I needed. You know what I'm saying?
To survive.
To survive or whatever I needed for that moment. And so, and I remember going to, you know, to one of this girl. She's not my friend anymore, but she's a person that I knew. And she's like, hey, you know, we have a late night. They hired us to go to this lawyer's house, whatever, and we need, you know, this kind of drug or this kind of drug. And I'm like, all right, I would figure it out. And I'm like, if you guys call me past 1 a.m. and I'm already in bed, it's going to be an extra $100. We don't care. They would pay for it. Or an extra 200 if it's past 2 a.m.
Yeah,
they don't care.
The thing is, at that time, it does not matter. When you need that shit and it's gone, it's like, we're all throwing in if we got, you know, whatever
Figure
the
it
fuck.
out,
Like,
yeah.
it's so sad, man, because it's like you don't want that shit to be over. You just don't want it to be over. So it's like, fuck it.
And that's why I think sometimes I'm like, damn, you know, what if this is karma for me? Because I did that when I was younger. And now my kid is doing...
Fourth person that says karma? That mentions karma and brings it around?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because karma is real. Yeah. You know? And she knocks at your door when you least expect it. And you're just like...
motherfucker.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, now that I'm you know, more knowledgeable in certain things, I'm just like, damn, why did I do that? You know? But... It was just that hustle in me at that time. I was just like, God, I can get rid of this so quick. I can do this so quick. But now it's kind of like, you'll see me unloading a trailer, loading a trailer, and it's like a lot of hard work. But I'm so proud to have done that because all my experiences have created me to be who I am now.
My dad always told me, culito pero sanito.
Yeah, there you go. Straight up.
Yeah, because he's like, man, the girl doing cabinets, I would do cabinets for like people that were in the cartel and stuff. So I could have joined, but he's like, nah, I never, you know, and it's crazy. Like the whole karma thing. I don't know. I feel like in your case, it's kind of like.
They don't lie when they say like what you give out, you're going to get back. So you got to make sure you're doing the right thing because that can.
I feel like she said she was like you were in a spot where someone's like innocent, ignorant. Like I don't know if you know Freeway Rick Ross, the story of Freeway Rick Ross. He didn't know how to like read, write, nothing, but he knew how to sell stuff. Yeah. So the first thing he could sell was drugs because that was the easiest thing to find. So with you, I don't think it was like you said, you're not bad. It was like the first thing you could sell. So like,
and
oh, shit,
at that time,
fuck it.
We had just had a house. We had just gotten our first house, and I remember I was like, I've never been the female to say, oh, I have to have, you know, my Gucci bag and I've never been the kind to be of a brand, like a brand materialistic. Like I love good things, don't get me wrong, but I've never been to, oh, I have to have this and this and this brand.
Like,
no,
I'm not going out if I don't have.
I didn't care. And so, but me having my first house, I was like, man, I want cortinas, I want a beautiful furniture, I want this and I want that. And then, you know, Daniel had, you know, he had a good job then and everything, but I just felt like, okay, I want to get this. And then sometimes, you know, we'd be like, no, we don't have the funds for that now. But I would do that.
Find the funds.
I would find the funds to do that. And it was so easy.
I guess what I was trying to say is the resources that, for example, us in the hood we have that's what we can sell, you know? Like, so it'd be nice for us now that we have, I guess, create opportunities to where people can sell other things. Like, that would be nice, you know, if you can...
And if you have the street hustle like down like this,
you can sell cars. You can
sell anything.
Whatever, yeah.
You don't have to be book smart, but if you are, you know, street smart, you're a seller at heart. Yeah. You don't have to be, you know, you don't have to be selling insurance or anything like that. I mean, you could do something legitly. That's why I feel like now, you know, when I started my store, I'm really working hard to start a brand, Vintage Latina, because I don't want to be known as, oh, yeah, she sold Sarape stuff. Oh, yeah, she sold. No, I want it to be a brand because...
A movement.
Yeah, a movement because at the end of the day, we do what we do. But I always think the day that God takes me, what was I known for?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I want to put my work into earth before God takes me. I want my girls to know...
I want to leave a stamp.
And, like, going back to the whole energy thing, is like we build our energy, you know. So, like when I was like 16, I got legendary tatted on my chest. At the time, I'm like 16. I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing with my life, but I knew I wanted to be legendary, you know. So I feel like every person, that's what, like you said, you work for your legacy. So the better you leave your name, the more you're gonna be remembered, I guess. Like,
most definitely. And you know, with Mija, Mija just turned 18, and you know, she's going to college now and she's working, and she got her first check and she was mad. She came home with $200. I was like, welcome to the real world, baby girl. And I told her, I was like, man, you can be making money, like, you know.
Don't limit yourself.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, one thing that I've learned about in this business course is there's this thing that they created, her and Sparkles, this thing called the Wheel of Feria. And it's basically like a pie, like a graph. And so she's like, when you're a business owner, you want to make sure that you have income coming in from
multiple,
all over, not just your 9 to 5. If you got a 9 to 5 and you got a side hustle, okay, you got 2 incomes. Which one's the majority? What's the majority of your income? And so when I saw the Wheel of Feria, I thought, damn, like, it's crazy when you see numbers and you see your income on a pie chart. You're just like, damn, like, that's not even a lot of money. Like, what do I need to do to step up my game? You know what I'm saying? Because my majority of my income was the trucking side, the trucking business. And then, 20% of my pie was the vintage Latina. And then I thought, okay, what else do you do? Well, I'm a notary public. That's like 5% because I really don't do a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And then another 5% was bartending, because I do bartending on the side too. I'm a certified mixologist, and that's seasonal. I only do maybe 6 parties a year, and they're really good paying parties, but it's not a all year round thing. And then my other side hustle was to make food and sell. So I thought, damn, I want to turn my main, my business into my main income. Yeah. But also keep all these little side hustles for rainy day fun. You know what I'm saying?
Supplement.
Yeah. And so I showed Mija, just because you're going to school, going to college, and you're working, why don't you sell like cute clothes that you rock?
Be creative with what you have.
And she did, and she's actually working on her little boutique right now. She started off small, and you have to have ambition to, like, you have to have ambition at what you do, because it's kind of like you're doing it, but if you don't put the right energy to it, you're not going to have followers.
Yes.
It's just kind of like you're doing that. Oh, okay, you're doing that. But when you're doing what you do and you love what you do, that ambition kicks
shows,
in.
Right.
It shows the... Yeah.
And self-doubt can also kick in, too, because I had a guy that messaged me, and he was like, man, I used to have my YouTube channel. I used to do content for business and self-development, and I stopped, and I'm like, what stopped you from putting more content out there? He was like, man, I just doubted myself. I just wasn't, I wasn't secure. I didn't believe too much on him. Like, that's where you messed up, and that can be a thing in the majority of the cases, is just self-doubt. Like, some people have ideas and they kind of like think themselves that idea is not too good for you to start putting stuff out there and start your business, and whatever the case may be. It's like, I feel like that is just, it can be a trap,
because your own thoughts can kind of
exactly
fuck you up.
It can be a trap.
And not only that, like, a lot of people, and I went through this phase too when I started the business. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna launch it until I have.
You wait for that perfect moment.
That perfect, and there's no such thing. No, you're always gonna need something. To me, it's like, if I would give a person that's starting a business, if my advice to that person would be, use what you have.
Yeah.
Start with what you got and go from there. Like, don't feel
because then you're gonna just be pushing the date over and over,
exactly,
and over and over.
And
then if people can see the progress, I think that, to me, like, when I see people's progress, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And vice versa. We try to like document every single step.
Then like for example with us, if somebody would have just gave us a bunch of money, and we probably wouldn't even came up with this shit. Like, if they gave us money, like,
right.
We came up with this because it's like, how can we make this the cheapest way possible?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that has to do a lot with, like, I wasn't raised, wealthy. I lived in a rough neighborhood back in the day, and when I was probably like 9 or 10, I grew up, right by Kerr Village, the Oak Grove, and there were big gangs back then.
Yeah.
And the neighborhood we lived, I think we were one of the few Hispanics that live right there on 22nd Street. And back then it was bad. Now you don't really see it as bad, but back then it was like
People were chopping people's heads off and shit.
and in the courts they would play basketball and they would, shoot each other if the one lost the game. Like, it was crazy back then, And I think that all of that, me growing up, and I don't want to shame on my dad. I'm sorry, Dad, if you hear this, but, my dad used to be a party animal. My dad was a big party animal. Sometimes he wouldn't come home for a couple days, and my mom would figure it out. And I remember sometimes we would...
¿Le gustaba el ambiente?
Yes, very much. My dad was a very big-time party animal. And so... I remember one time my mom was going to make, food, and we didn't have I remember we didn't have carne, like steak and chicken and stuff like that. And my mom's like, ahorita hago de comer. And I remember she would always bring these huge, in Mexico, I don't know if your parents did this, AV, but when you would go to Mexico, you always bring back those big costales of beans, rice, and flour, and chile. That was, you go to Mexico, you're coming back with that. And I remember, we didn't have a lot, but I remember my mom, she would always have a big stack of tortillas, homemade, and she would always, whip something up with rice and beans, always. When this whole pandemic came, that everybody's freaking out because there was no steak. Man, boy, we grew up off of rice and beans. That was nothing, But I think that all those experiences, me personally growing up with not a whole lot, has made me appreciate everything I have now. It's made me really, really embrace every situation and everything that I got now.
Right.
So how are, for example, with that, how are you able to, now with your kids, because your kids obviously didn't have to go through all that, how do you make your kids still humble and, appreciative, even though they didn't have to go through the fucked up shit?
Well, I tell them all the time, I struggle because, me and Daniel would, I'm not even going to lie, we would spoil our kids. And that's because we both grew up, in a rough neighborhood and didn't have a lot of money. And we always said, okay, when we have our kids, we're going to make sure our kids have. Because I was one of them girls that would rock Pro Wings or, the cheap shoes from Payless Shoes. And
see, the thing is, you guys did that with all the good intentions at heart, but then it can turn into something.
Oh, it did. It did. Trust me, it did. When you're a young parent, you don't get a manual with how to raise a kid. So it's kind of like you try to figure it out and get, learn your lessons or ask your parents, for advice or whatever. But now that they're grown, Arely, I feel like she's my humble kid. I mean, she's sassy and she likes to have good things, but she's the kind that if she knows we're going through a struggle period that we just can't spend money, she won't.
She'll go through the drought.
She'll figure it out. She will figure it out. She'll figure out how to get money or, whatever. Because we've always told our kids, as long as you stay in school, we'll pay for your phone. And we'll pay for your gas to make sure you make it to school and back. As long as you guys stay in school,
those are the essentials. Graduate,
Mom and Dad will help you guys as much as we can. But she's my independent. Out of all my kids, my girls, she's my very strong-willed child. If you tell her no, she will never ask you again for anything. She'll figure it out. And I think now that they're grown, now that my son's a dad, now he understands why we bitched or why we complained. But there was a phase where they were all, Mom, I want to get these Jordans, and Dad, having all girls, he would spoil them. Yeah. I think I'm meaner to the girls than Dad. Dad spoils the shit out of them, and me, I'm backwards. I would spoil my son.
The boys, yeah.
And I only have one son, so I would spoil him, and I'd be tougher with the girls. But now I'm kind of okay. That's
a mom thing, no?
It is, and I hate it, and I've apologized to my girls because I'm mean. And it's not mean because I want to be mean. Is that I'm very firm because I don't want them to be I don't want them to be weak.
Yeah.
I I'm preparing you for when you go out into the real world. I don't want you to sit there and cry when someone says roast you or something like that. I don't want you to cry. I want you to
Roast
hit
them
them right back.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound bad, but I'm saying, like, I don't want you to be like crying
Because,
emotionally,
yeah,
or
it's
you
just-
feel devastated because someone
Or the
said
world's-
something
And then
bad.
that
Yeah.
snowballs into other shit. Like whenever it's an insecure kid that's like shy and shit, they get bullied once, and then now it's like, okay, well, shit, now you're getting bullied every time, motherfucker, because you got bullied that one time. Like, it sucks, but
Yeah, no, it's
better
reality. It's reality, yeah.
And in my household, anyone that knows me and Daniel's a roast master. Daniel, he's kind of one of those dudes that will roast you and with funny humor. He's very humorous dude.
Yeah.
And so it's like he will roast you and just to be stupid and playing around, whatever. But it's kind of like, if you can't handle that, then we can't be friends. I'm sorry, but it's just that's the way he is. And a lot of people, he's a very, very blunt person. Like if something's on his mind, he's gonna let you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's
him and my dad might be good homies. They might have to.
for real.
Link 'em
Daniel's
up.
and I think that is good when you have kids, because then you let them know that why not be up, blunt, and honest?
Yeah.
You know, why try to tell
love
people
it.
what they want to hear? That's not gonna get
And
you
then
nowhere.
that'll just keep people away that shouldn't even be around. You know, if you just tell them some shit and they can't handle it, like, all right, bro, get out of here. You fucking.
So
I don't want you around anyway.
Yeah, for most definitely but my main advice would be to anyone that's starting a business, use with what you have. Literally use what you have, and don't be afraid to ask. One thing I do hate about a lot of, the younger generation starting a business, I hear so much shade of this person talking about this. Oh, did you see they are doing this? They're copying off of you. There's so much room for everybody to do everything.
Yeah.
Just put your own touch to things.
Yeah.
Stop hating on them. If they're trying to do this, let them do that. Let them support them.
Exactly.
And nothing, I don't think, very rarely are you going to do something that's just completely original. Like, you're going to, like you said,
Copy something and add your twist to it.
Yeah.
Like, look at something and be like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Let me add my twist to it. Let me add my unique angle.
Yeah,
And
most definitely. Because and one thing I have done a lot here lately is I've surrounded myself with a lot of business people. Because, if you look at people that are very, very wealthy, they hang around very wealthy people
Exactly.
too.
Yep.
They're not getting wealthy because they're spending all their bread, with the homies that are being bums and they're leashing off of you. No, it's you. And I'm not saying stop talking to your friends and start hanging around with high class.
But you need to know when to draw the line.
Yeah, if it's like, if you want,
Thank
have
you
a
for that,
business.
because a lot of people would have interpreted that. I see that a lot. Like, I see that a lot.
Yeah, and if like me, I got a lot of shade because now I hear, oh yeah, Yadira thinks she's all that because she has a business. It's not that I think I'm all that. It's just that I'm on a whole nother level of trying to grind. So if you're not going to help me, get to the next level or support what I'm doing, this cool. I'm not going to hit you for it. Just get out of my way.
Your mom said
in a
that
nice
too.
way.
Yeah. If you're not going to benefit me in some way, then I'm going to cut you off, and sorry, but it is what it is. If you're not going to benefit me, then we're cool. Like,
that's it. And
that's
to me, that's it. Like, it drives me up the wall when I see people that want to start a business and
They're still hanging around with
they're still doing the same. They haven't made no changes. Like, how do you want to make a change if you're not investing in yourself? To me, that's very important. Because when I talk about the class that I take, they're like, well, you should have supported someone local. Well, who's doing it? Because if someone's doing it local, I'll be the first to sign up.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to go out of our normal, step outside of the box. And that's what I had to do. I had to go and find this business course in a whole nother state on the West Coast. But it has taught me to invest my time.
You got to search for it.
Wisely. It's like, if you want something, you're going to do everything in your power to figure it out, how to do it. You're not just going to sit there. Like, there's a lot of youngsters that are starting businesses and they literally copy every single movement of another person and do the same thing. Like, no, you got to be unique.
Or they're being somebody they're not.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell and sense it. It's like, you're not that person, but you want to please a crowd.
Because they see their success.
Yeah. And it's like, no, be yourself and pursue what makes you happy. That's it.
Yeah.
Simple,
And it comes out naturally. It's kind of like you said earlier, that if you don't have the sales savviness, like when I do these car shows, there's tons of vendors, and I always support vendors. When I go and do shows myself, I will buy stuff from other vendors, not just to buy because I want to support them, but they carry cool items. And I've caught that a lot of vendors sell one or two items that I sell too, same. And what's crazy is that they'll sell their items for $5-10 cheaper than mine and can't sell it. And here I am selling it for triple the price, and I sell it like crazy. And it's the same thing. And I'm just like, that's crazy. But to me, I've been taught to make it an experience.
Yes, like the whole experience thing. There's this kid, it's vende empanadas in Acapulco, and he basically drops the spill. Like he's just, I'm going to show you guys.
Yeah, I want to see this one because
Can't wait to get the new studio. We can just have a TV and just be on some Jamie. Okay, so... Oh, shit.
El empanadas, look at it.
Vamos a negociar usted y yo como todos unos caballeros que somos.
A ver.
Le propongo que si la prueba y no le gusta, no paga. Para que se pueda regresar a presumir a su lugar de residencia que usted ya es un consumidor oficial de las empanadas.
Sí.
Viéndolo desde esa perspectiva, ¿no cree que podría ser una manera óptima de invertir hacia la economía de los ciudadanos simpáticos que desempeñan un léxico desarrollado para convencer a sus clientes?
Wow.
Totalmente, estoy de acuerdo.
Entonces, ¿con cuántas docenas quiere que arranquemos, joven, para que pueda presumir que ya las probó?
Whoa.
So he became famous off of just selling empanadas in Acapulco.
Okay.
But see,
because he made
that's what you
every
call-
sale an experience.
So...
the punchline that the first was a punchline. That's what they sell when you're selling food like that in the streets. Vendor, they tell you, that's what I've learned, that you have to have your punchline. You have this many seconds to introduce the world what you do.
Why do I care?
And
Why
what,
do I
the
care?
first
Make
thing
it count.
that already created value was like, try it out. If you don't like it,
You don't pay.
you don't pay. I was like, oh, he's confident, so let me try that
That's
shit.
the punchline.
And
yeah.
most likely, I'm
And
gonna
you're
like
feel,
it.
And you're gonna feel like a fucking dick if you don't
I'm
pay
like,
him.
he's
'cause
a
this is-
hustler. Like, even if I didn't like it, I'm gonna give him his money because it's
I
like,
saw
bro, I
s-
respect that shit.
I saw somebody talking about him, and what they said is that he wasn't trying to necessarily sell. He makes sure that you like him. He's like, he's very
The
likable.
experience.
Very
The
likable.
experience he gave you. I think anything that you ever do, you have to make it an experience. I have a prima that makes infused chamoy.
Oh.
And I got some, by the way, if you want to get one. I have different flavors. Shout out to her. She has a company that is called Canny Honeys. Canna Honeys is what it's called. Canna Honeys. And it's chamoy infused. So I went to go visit her in Las Vegas 3 weeks ago. Follow her, by the way, on Instagram.
Yeah. Shout her out. What's her?
Yes, Rachel Porras out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I went to go visit her. She had some chamoys on her counter, and I'm like, what's up with that, prima? What's that? And she's like, oh, it's chamoy. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, it's infused. And I'm like, really? She goes, yeah. I was like, what, did you make it? Did you buy it or what? And she's like, yeah, I made them. And I'm like, but she wasn't like talking about it like with
Confident or like
not
excitement.
confidence or being proud because she made it. You know what I'm saying? Like when I
Yeah.
make food and I know it's bomb, I'm like, guys, this shit's
I made
bomb. Like I made this is good. So I felt her energy. She was just like,
She
oh
was.
yeah.
She wasn't really.
Yeah, she was just like, yeah. I mean, they're there, and I'm like, are you selling them? Are you trying? She's like, yeah, I'm trying. And then I'm like, okay, bring some beers.
Mm-hmm.
Bring some beer. I was like, well, you got some beers at home? She goes, yeah. So she brought some beers, and me and her, her being a bartender, me being a bartender, I'm like, and so I tasted it, put it on the cup, rim, whatever. And I tasted it, I'm like, damn, prima, this is really good. And she's like, you think so? Yeah, I think so. And then I'm like, you know what? Bring me 2 mason jars. Bring the jars. All right, cool. So she brings the mason jars. I get them wet, whatever, and I put them in the freezer. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, we're about to pop this off. And she's like, oh, I don't know. No. I don't. Like, she was so scared, the fear of starting that new journey that she wanted to start, but
It goes back to the
self-doubt.
self-doubt.
She went right back into
Trying to-
her little cubby. And I'm like, prima, you're crazy. I'm like, people don't sell this. This is like infused chamoy. Like, going to a dispensary and seeing what they have. Like, I've never seen infused chamoy.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you think so? I'm like, girl, you're tripping. I said, okay. So we got the jars out of the freezer. And we sat right there in my godmother's, kitchen, and I was like, let's take a picture. Let's put this together, and we're about to promote the shit out of this. And if what's going to hurt, that it goes high and you sell the crap out of these, or you don't get response. I said, you got to be ready for either one. I said, but let's go with good intentions and let's get the ball rolling. I said, girl, you're tripping. You're sleeping on yourself. She's a single mom of 2. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I did the whole rim thing, put the chamoy and put the beers, whatever. And she's just like, no, I'm going to hire someone to come take pictures and to make it look. I said, girl, work with what you have. So we went in my madrina's backyard, and she has a bunch of agave and aloe veras and all that. We propped a piece of wood, like a little box, and we put the cups, literally the cups with the chamoy coming down, the beer inside, the little chilito, cut up some lemons, the beer, and the background was aloe vera. And we took a picture, and Arely, with her iPhone, she angled it, and she took several pictures. That picture blew up. We posted it. I posted it. She posted it, shared it on her social media, and within 3 days, that same day that I saw her, that we took those pictures, I said, how many do you have? She's like, I have 6, 3 regular and three mango. And I'm like, all right, well, let me hit up some of my friends that I know that, will buy this. Yeah. So I hit them up, and then, they're card holders or whatever. And so they're like, hell yeah. I was, all right, well, send her through Cash App the amount. She charges, $25 for the little tub, and it's a 2 combo. You get the chamoy and you get the little tajin looking thing to go around for $25. And so within 30 minutes, those 6 that she had, I had already sold them from her.
And that, like you said, she was sleeping on herself.
She was sleeping on herself.
And that happens a lot. In the gym, one of my homies, one day I lifted some weight, and he was like, you don't even know how strong you are, huh? I was like, what do you mean, bro? Like, he's like, if you were mean, you could hurt somebody. You could just grab them and fucking squeeze the fuck out of them. And I was like, no, I would never do that,
Yeah.
He's like, you don't even know your own strength. And I'm like,
you doubt your own self.
Yeah.
So from that day, I told her, hey, this was a Friday, Saturday. I was like, I'll be back Saturday. By Sunday, I need another shipment.
Yeah.
And she sent me another shipment, and it sold quick. And she sent me a message, say, hey, Prima, thank you so much. I needed that kick in the ass. So for anyone that's starting a business.
What you looking for, bro? Your phone?
Work with what you got and go from there. You're always going to have hiccups. You're always going to have rocks that you're going to be tripping over. Just, shake it off, keep going.
And always stay behind your brand, because
invest
it's like
in yourself.
You were saying, there's people that sell the same products that you sell for cheaper, but then they go to you because you build the product. Like vintage Latina is Yadira, and like what she's been able to build. Like, I want to buy it, I want to buy it. And it's like the same with us. That's how I feel like people are when they come to the podcast, because they see the setup and they also get to experience that, and they're like, damn, this was cool. This was like, rocking with you guys and supporting you guys, and like that to me is like, wow, like priceless, So I think that's the whole mission of anything you do and when you start a brand and stuff.
And just encouraging people to know that there's other avenues out there. Like, you don't have to go fucking sell drugs, and
exactly.
Just get creative, and you can create your brand, your product. Just get creative.
Yeah, and
exactly.
that's what I'm doing right now. Like, I'm in the midst of working. I did the whole trademark. I looked up my name, make sure before I started my business, I made sure that name wasn't taken. And I made sure that I did my trademark. I made sure I registered. I made sure I did everything legit. Like, if you're starting your business, do it legit. Quit. One thing I hate about our culture is that we try to do everything to save money. Money. There's nothing wrong with saving money, but do it legally. Do it right, so you can grow. And
you end up paying more for it in the end when you're doing it the wrong way. Like, por tratar de...
Yeah.
And there's always ways. Like, there's people, because I don't have money to do this, I started off in my kitchen. I started off doing these little ornaments in my kitchen. That's how I started Vintage Latina. Then from there, I went to selling in a room, because I expanded a little bit more. then for my room, I started selling out of a table out of the back of, the Tahoe.
Adapt and overcome. That's
the big thing.
You have to have growth within. You got to set yourself limits. Like in 3 months, you need to tell yourself, I'm growing. Like you have to, and then stick to it. Because there's a lot of people that if it involves a lot of work, it's too much. No one said that you're going to get rich overnight. No one said that people that are rich didn't work their asses off to get there. And I started, like I said, there. And now I'm vending, I'm a traveling vendor. And now I have a website. 3 years ago, I would have never imagined me with the website that I built. The class.
And it all started off of ornaments.
And it all started off with ornaments, old school, vintage looking ornaments. And then from there it popped out. I remember that year that I did the ornaments, I made $1,000 in 3 days. $1,000 in 3 days off of those ornaments. And all I did was make them, share, and then they shared, and they shared, and they shared, and then boom, snowballed. It blew up.
Yeah.
And it snowed. And then that same money I would get and invest, and then
right back.
double, and then double, and then double.
That's how you got to do
Abundance.
it. For real. Exactly. We've been in here for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Time flew like crazy. I got one more question for you, and this is what we ask all of our guests, is if you had to go back 5 years and tell yourself something, what would it be?
To embrace every moment. I wasted a lot of my time worrying about stupid things that, us, the flesh or the human side would worry about. To me, it'd be embrace every single moment. That's so important to me because in the business world, time is money. But in the spiritual side, time is very precious, and we cannot get reimbursed for that.
Right.
It's like I should have done
this. Money comes and goes.
Yeah.
Time doesn't.
Yeah.
That's it.
Embrace
every single moment, whether it's a person, whether it's an experience, even if it's a bad experience, embrace it because that bad experience is going to teach you something. And every time that I go somewhere, like...
No se agüite.
Yeah, Confession 101, when I was on my way here, I literally sat there and I started speaking into existence for a new path. Let this open a new path for not only you guys, but for me, in so many senses, because I don't want to be stuck in Oklahoma doing the same thing over and over and over. Like, that bores the crap out of me. I want to experience
travel and have fun with
people.
it. Yes.
Me networking, that's my favorite thing, because I can sit here and talk to you, and little did I know that you do all these other things.
Yeah.
That is a door opening that could help me out, that I could say, hey, you know what? I have a question. Can you guide me? I have a question on this, and then you can give me your input on your experiences. That's going to help me. Same thing with you. You know what I'm saying? I try to ask all the time, like, God, let this be an amazing experience. Let me learn from them. Let me embrace the moment, and let me learn something new that I can take with me. That part, let me take it with me so I can use this as a tool for me to grow. You know what I'm saying? So thank you guys so much for having me. This crazy 2 hours.
Thank you. We touched up on every single topic that we wanted to, and I think we made our point across. Man, you got something going on, and it's like we do thank you very much for the support, and we see what you're doing. Where can people find your website?
So if you go to vintagelatina.shop.
.shop, okay.
Yeah, vintagelatina.shop, and if I do a lot of local pickup and stuff like that, but you'll always find me there at a car show, or the website. My website's my baby. The Instagram is Vintage Latina.
Okay.
Yeah, Vintage Latina on Instagram.
So it wasn't taken. It's
and on Snapchat too. Snapchat is where I put all my new stuff. So if you want the new stuff that I'm about to post, I always post it a week before on Snapchat. So you can follow me on Snapchat too, also Vintage Latina, and on Facebook, Vintage Latina. And I want to get involved with the community more. We do a lot. I do a lot personally. I do a lot of community events. I'm also a member of the Vintage Rollers. It's a car club. And we came together with one mind, was to serve our community full force. Like, you know, a lot of car clubs have a car club and it's all about show.
Kicking it.
And it's Vintage Rollers, car and social club. So everybody's like, what the hell is social club? The social club part about it is getting together. Like if one of our members' cars broke down or whatever, we all meet at that person's house. We fix it. We all work together to get them back on the road, and then bam. Or we'll host onto the next one in our members. Or we'll host a cookout, and we all, try to get together and socialize on a positive note, or help the community out and do something positive for the community. Like, I was tired of having rules. Car clubs, you had to have your car at this standard, this amount. You can only do this, and then I was like, this is not what I want a car club. I don't want to be a part of a car club that doesn't give back.
Difference.
Yes. So I was like,
it's almost like you got to keep up with the Jones type thing in a lot of car clubs. Like,
And my deal was like, no, we're here to, of course.
I like that. The social, what is it?
It's called Vintage Rollers, Car, and Social Club.
Social club.
Because social club, that goes back to the thing about surrounding yourself with people that are on the same page. That's huge. 'Cause conversations alone, like, if you're having good conversations, then good things are gonna happen. So,
and that's what we do right now. Like, three of our members, 3 or 4 of them, 3 of them have businesses, and the other 3 don't. But we are literally encouraging them, like, what do you like to do? Like, I pick at their brain. What do you guys like to do?
I'm that annoying guy, too. Whenever we'd be drinking with the homies and shit, and I'm like, so what do you want to do with your life, bro? Yeah. Like, we don't want to hear that shit right now.
Well, see, I don't come, see, but if you would come at them at a different angle, don't ask them what they want to do, because they don't even know. But say, hey, what do you like? Like, what do you
what is
your
passion?
What do you love? Like, all of us we are all ordained to do something
you like.
There's something inside. It's just that you got to dig deeper.
Some take longer to figure it out. Some find it
way longer.
Yeah.
So to me, it's kind of like, I'm kind of like picking at their brain, because I'm a business owner. I'm a small business owner, but I want you to rock, what you want to do. I want to rock what you're rocking with.
Yeah, because then that's gonna make you happier. So I want to have happy
all my
friends
to succeed. That saying. It's not cheesy. I live to see people succeed. Like, if you're doing the damn thing and your business is going higher, hell yeah. Like, I'm going to go and support you. Like, don't be an ugly hater.
Mm-hmm. Everybody eats.
Yeah.
Everybody eats.
I want everybody to eat. And that's how I feel with people that we surround ourselves with. Surround yourself with positive-minded people. Business, if you're doing the whole business savvy thing, hang around with those kind of people and watch yourself grow. Because if the people you surround yourself with, they're not helping you grow, and you're going down, you're in the wrong crowd.
Exactly.
They're not meant for you. You got to keep on going.
Yeah. Amazing advice. One hell of a podcast, for real. Like, shit. That's why we do this. And thank you for the sedge and the gifts. We're definitely going to leave all the information in the description down below. Make sure you check that out. And I also want to see who is actually listening and viewing this. So if you watch until the end, which is a hard thing because I find myself victim to it, it's a long podcast. We have busy lives. But if you're watching till the end, comment down below HCP, all caps, HCP, and I'll get with you. So let's go ahead and wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Bye. Peace.